Because you won't address the fact that the border is more secure under Trump. That's what
Oh,
I've been talking
so
about this entire time.
you're pivoting. Why are you accusing me of pivoting when you're pivoting? You made a claim
The
that the
numbers
reason.
show the
Hey,
border is better than it's ever been.
hey, so sorry. Do you not remember what you said less than a minute ago? You said that Republicans didn't support the bill because it included funding for Ukraine. And I asked if you'd like me to explain why you're wrong. Then you accused me of pivoting. Can you just explain to me and the 5.5 thousand people watching how I'm pivoting by responding to the last thing you said?
Because you keep on rabbit trailing, you won't stay on topic.
How am I getting off topic when I'm directly responding to the very last thing you said? More specifically, the idea that Republicans didn't support the bill as it included funding for Ukraine. How can you possibly consider that to be me getting off topic? I'm asking you for a long explanation. Use
Was
more
there
than
more
4
border
words.
crossings under Biden or Trump?
Why are
It's
you
as
not
simple as that.
responding to coming out of my mouth?
It's as simple as that, really.
Can you acknowledge what I said?
Can you answer my question?
I'm not going to answer a damn thing you say until you acknowledge what I just said.
I didn't hear it.
Okay, well, open your ears. You accused me of pivoting when I asked if I could respond to the last thing you said, which was that Republicans didn't support the bipartisan border bill under the Biden-Harris administration because it included funding for Ukraine. Did you or did you not say that?
I did say that.
Okay, so why would you consider it to be me pivoting, responding to what you said? That's a little idiotic.
Because you still haven't addressed my point.
You just
This entire
said that
time.
the point you made was that Republicans didn't support the bipartisan border bill because it included funding for Ukraine. I'm going to address that. You're wrong. The reason why you're wrong is because the appropriations for money and funding for Ukraine, Gaza, Israel, as well as another country were separated from the border bill, and the Republicans still shot down that border bill. However, they passed all the appropriations, including funding for Ukraine. Acknowledge that you're wrong, or at the bare minimum, tell me why you're still right, even though I've been able to critique you.
So did we need the bill or not? Was the bill necessary?
Okay, so you're not acknowledging anything I've said since you joined this live. Why are you running away from me?
Was the bill necessary or not?
As soon
Because
as you
obviously it wasn't.
as soon as you tell me why you're running from everything that I'm saying, I'll consider entertaining one thing you got to say. I've responded, I've entertained, and I've critiqued every single thing you've said. You have not a single one of my critiques. Like, for instance, I'll be specific. The last 2 points you made was that the bill was bad because it allowed 5,000 individuals in per week. I gave a minute and a half critique to that. You didn't acknowledge it at all. The second thing you said is that the bill was bad because it included funding for Ukraine. I included a minute critique of that, and you didn't acknowledge it at all. So for us to move forward in this conversation, I'm now going to require you to acknowledge my critiques of those positions. And if you can't,
Okay.
guess what? I'm going to move on to the next guest.
Even if we grant that you're correct on both of those statements, Donald Trump still has a more secure border than Joe Biden did.
Okay, so
So
now
it
that
doesn't change anything.
now that you've granted I was correct about those two statements,
So
why
even
did
if we
Trump
did,
torpedo it?
torpedo what?
That bipartisan border bill that you just conceded was good.
No, I said it wasn't even necessary. All we needed was a new president.
Okay, so you're basically saying that Donald Trump justifiably torpedoed it because it wasn't necessary?
What?
You're saying that Donald Trump torpedoed it and that was a good thing because you don't think the bill was necessary.
No, because it would have just made Republicans look bad.
So in other words, you choose Republicans looking better and Democrats looking worse over a more secure border with less undocumented entry.
Well, we didn't have a secure border with Biden.
Well, the claim is that it would have been more secure and there would have been less undocumented entry if the bill passed. And you prefer
That's not my
Democrats
claim.
looking worse over the border being more secure.
That wasn't my claim.
Okay, so then what is your claim? Why did Donald Trump torpedo the border bill?
I don't know. I'm not Donald Trump.
Do you think that when he did torpedo that border bill, he did something that was bad?
No.
Okay, why?
What did he do that was bad?
Torpedo the bill that would have reduced undocumented entry and made the border more secure.
He did that while he's president.
But it could have been done earlier if he didn't torpedo that bill. That's why I think when he torpedoed that bill, that was a bad thing. Isn't that reasonable?
No.
Why not?
We didn't need the bill.
We didn't need the bill. So in other words, once again, I was right. You are saying that it wasn't bad for him to torpedo it since it wasn't necessary. Okay. I don't know why you'd argue it's not necessary when you say you only voted for the fascists for better border security. But at the end of the day, I'll grant that it wasn't necessary, but I don't think that means, therefore, it was not a bad thing when he torpedoed it, since it still would have reduced undocumented entry and better secured the border years ago.
So can you acknowledge our border is more secure under Trump?
If you could respond to what I just said, I will give you my thoughts on that acknowledgement.
I don't know why he torpedoed the bill. What does that have to do with anything?
Well, I just gave you an argument why it was bad for him to torpedo the bill, and seemingly you cannot combat it.
You're saying that the bill would have prevented illegal immigrants from
It would
coming
have
in,
reduced
right?
undocumented entry. Yes.
And I'm saying we didn't even need the bill because we're seeing what Trump is doing. He
So
doesn't need a bill, does he?
why didn't you want to reduce undocumented entry earlier?
We did.
No, you stopped a bill that would have further reduced undocumented entry years ago, and you find no issue with that. Why?
Because I'm saying we don't even need the bill. Look at the border now.
So we actually did need that bill under the Biden-Harris administration, as it would have reduced undocumented entry years ago. Okay, because that bill didn't pass, undocumented entry was not reduced because of the provisions that would have been introduced. That's common sense.
That's obviously not the case if Trump is securing the border.
So you think that the numbers of undocumented immigrants coming into America went down under the Biden-Harris administration years ago, even though that bill was never passed? That's completely incoherent. Like,
No, I'm
I just
saying
want
it
to,
went down under Trump.
okay, I just want to be clear. Can you like repeat what I'm saying just to make sure that my words aren't going in one ear and out the other?
Yeah, you're saying the bill would have prevented more people from coming in.
Okay, is it true or a false statement?
It's false.
Okay, why? Day, thank you for the motorcycle.
Because Donald Trump is doing it without.
Okay. This is
Therefore, we
actually
didn't need a bill.
so this is a fallacious position. Okay, so
How?
yeah, for these purposes of me demonstrating why your position is, I'll just grant that been able to reduce entry without a bill. That doesn't mean that that bill wouldn't have reduced entry. Like it's not a mutually exclusive dichotomy. You're giving me dichotomy. You're saying that because Donald Trump's been able to out a bill, that bill reduced entry. Okay, so Donald Trump can reduce entry without a bill, but it could also be true that reduced entry. Do you understand what I'm saying?
So what is Trump doing that Biden couldn't have done without the bill?
I want you to repeat what I just said, so I'm ensuring that you're understanding what I'm saying. Repeat what I.
You're saying that the bill can prevent illegal immigrants, and so can not having the bill.
So no, what I said was even if Trump can reduce entry, that bill still yet would have reduced entry. Meaning that earlier when you told me that I was wrong in saying that the bill would have reduced entry, you were actually the one in the wrong. So go ahead. Do you accept the proposition that that bill would have reduced entry?
No,
Why not?
because what is Trump doing that Biden couldn't have done without the bill?
I just completely dismantled that logic.
You didn't.
I did. I demonstrated how it's not mutually exclusive. Two things can be true. That bill could have reduced entry, and Trump can
So,
reduce entry right now without a bill.
so I'll use your same logic. Biden could have just not had the bill and reduced entry.
So you're
Why did
saying
he
that
need to
so
propose
you're
so
saying that
bill?
Biden could have reduced entry with an executive order. Okay, that can be true, but that doesn't make the claim that that bill would have reduced entry false. Do you understand what I'm saying? He could have reduced entry with an executive order. In fact, that's what he ended up doing at the end of
Yeah,
his
you're
term.
just talking
Was
in
he passed
circles
an
because
EO that
you don't have
reduced
a
entry by
position here.
upwards of 70%? But that doesn't mean that that bill wouldn't have reduced entry. How does the idea that you could reduce undocumented entry with an EO disprove the idea that you could also reduce undocumented entry with a bill? Explain that to me.
Yeah, you're muting me because you're getting dog walked.
I muted you because you interrupted me, not because you're dog walking me.
This entire audience can see what you're doing.
Okay? Go ahead and respond to what I said. Would you like me to repeat what I said? I have a feeling you weren't listening.
You expect me in this audience to take you seriously if you're just going to mute me the whole time?
I mean, I don't think you take anything seriously. So I don't expect you to take me seriously, but I do expect you to respond to what I'm saying. That's what a debate is all about. Would you like me to repeat what I said?
Not really, but sure, go ahead.
Okay. I will. So you said because Biden could have reduced undocumented entry with an EO, therefore he couldn't have reduced undocumented entry with a bill. That logic is false. Two things can be true at once. He could have reduced undocumented entry with an EO, just like he could have also reduced undocumented entry with a bill. So how does the fact that he could have reduced undocumented entry with an EO disprove my claim that that bill would have reduced undocumented entry?
So why didn't he do it
Valid.
with
Thank
an
you so
EO?
much for the meteor shower. Okay, I knew that's what you were going to ask, so I already have my thought and responses reloaded. He actually ended up doing that, but that's completely irrelevant to my question because keep in mind my question in a nutshell is just simply why you think the fact that he could have reduced undocumented entry with an EO refutes and makes the proposition false that he also could have reduced undocumented entry with a bill. Because keep in mind, I'm giving you pushback against your claim that no, that bill wouldn't have reduced undocumented entry.
Yeah, you're not making any sense here.
I mean, I don't think I'm making much sense because you don't understand what I'm saying. That's a user error, not my fault. I remember when I was in junior year calculus 2, my teacher made no goddamn sense to me. All right. But turns out the only reason why I didn't understand what he was saying was because I didn't do my homework. Right. So I think the analogous thing to say here would be that you're not doing your homework. Right. Because you believe in very incoherent delusions. Okay. Particularly the delusion that you're trying to argue today is that a bipartisan border bill wouldn't have undocumented entry because he could undocumented entry with an EO. That's completely intangible bullshit.
You just don't want to take accountability for Biden's disaster.
No,
That's
I just
about
want
it.
you to acknowledge that both an and the bill could have reduced undocumented entry.
Okay, and Biden didn't do either one.
So you just acknowledge that. So now you actually do accept that bipartisan border bill would have reduced undocumented entry, right?
So why didn't he
I
have?
just want a yes or no. He did. I want a yes or no. Would that bipartisan border bill have entry into America?
No,
Okay. You better not
because
say
it would
because he
have
could have
still
passed an
allowed
EO.
people to come through.
Still would have allowed people to come through. Okay. Well, I mean, I've already responded to that as well. The main way that it would have reduced undocumented entry is by making the legal means of entry more attainable. But you're arguing that it still would have allowed some people through. Okay. Well, what cap do we have on legal entry today?
What'd you say?
What cap do we have on legal entry today?
What do you mean? What cap?
Do we have a cap on like the amount of individuals that could legally migrate into America per week before the border gets shut down?
I'm not sure.
We don't, right? So even though you think that cap was still high, it was still lower than the cap that currently exists because no cap.
There shouldn't be any people coming through illegally.
So that cap actually applied to legal entry. I think that you're just a really stupid guy. I'm not gonna lie. Tanny, I just think you're a stupid guy. Do you have
I'm
anything
way
else that you want
smarter
to
than
talk
you'll
about?
ever be.
Really?
Yeah,
Name one bill ever passed through Congress. Just ever.
the GI Bill.
The GI.
Yeah,
Name two.
the First Step Act.
First step. Name three.
No tax on overtime. No tax on tips.
Okay. You're wrong.
No.
That hasn't passed Congress. It passed the House. Has it passed the Senate?
We'll see.
So, yeah, okay. You're able to name two. How many do you think I can name?
Here's another one. There's
There's only so that was not a bill passed through Congress. That was an executive order signed into law. And funny enough, the EO actually defined everybody as a female. Did you know that?
really.
Yeah, the way in which it's worded, it says that personhood or the description of this idea that you're male or female starts at the moment of conception based upon the size of the sex characteristics that are present. Okay, well, males don't have any identifiable sex characteristics before the activation of the SRY gene at 6 to 7. Meaning before that point, the only identifiable sex characteristics that exist are those of females. And because the point where his EO determines an individual to be a male or a female is the moment of conception, this means that we're all females.
Well, that makes perfect sense to libtards like you. Men can be women.
So, A, I don't think that we should be using the term libtard. That's just a take on a slur.
You think there's no difference between men and women?
I don't think that we should be using that term. I think it's just a twist on a slur, on a bad word, on a derogatory term. Okay. Could you acknowledge it? That was bad.
You have no problem calling Trump every name in the book.
Donald Trump a derogatory term such as the R word.
You guys call them Schnazis, fascists, everything else.
So I definitely call him a fascist. But once again, I wouldn't use derogatory terminology such as the R word to refer to him.
But when you get called a name, you act like a vagina.
I act like a vagina? How would you know that I act like a vagina when you've never seen one in your life? Like, there's my genuine question. Like, I know that was a little bit of a, misogynistic comment, but albeit a misogynistic comment, how could you possibly know any facts of a vagina?
Because I see plenty of them. That's how.
Like where? Like fucking like Google? Like incognito once mommy goes to bed type shit?
That's your mom's house.
You seen plenty of them at my mom's house?
She was the first one I seen.
Does that mean like are you saying like we're brothers and the last time you saw one of those is when you were born? I mean I think if I had a brother, I'd know. I think if I had a brother, I'd know about it.
I'm saying I'm your daddy, just like Trump is.
Oh! You just said that Trump's my daddy?
Yeah, we have joint custody of you.
Here's the thing: if Trump's my daddy because I'm an American, does that mean that he's your daddy too, since you're also an American?
No, we have joint custody of you.
So Trump's just my daddy. He's not your daddy. Why is he not your daddy if he's my daddy?
We're both your daddy.
I know. Answer my question. If Trump's my daddy, why isn't he also your daddy?
Because he's not. He's yours.
Why?
Because he owns you.
Why? Because he's my president?
That's one of the reasons.
Is he your president?
Yes.
So that means he owns you too and that he's your daddy.
No, you bow to him.
How do I bow to him?
Because you have to. You have no other choice. What are you going to do?
Once again, you're saying that I have no other choice but to bow to him since he's my president, correct?
Exactly.
So this would also imply that you have no other choice but to bow to him because he's your president, meaning he's also your daddy.
No, this is a joint venture.
So see the parallel here? See the parallel here? It's funny because whenever Trump supporters say that Trump's my daddy because he's my president, etc., he's also your president, which would imply, logically speaking, that you acknowledge that Trump is your daddy. Could you just say it real quick? Could you say, Trump is my daddy?
Can you say, I'm a libtard vagina?
Oh, okay. There he goes back to it. Well, we're going to move on to the next guest, everyone. Let's go and get that next guest up in the box. Yeah, that guy was pretty nuts. I apologize for the derogatory terms that he was using. I probably should have removed him from the live earlier, but I was having fun bullying him. I'm just going to be honest with you guys. Let's go and move on to the next guest, everyone. We got DJ loaded in. What's up, DJ? How old are you? Okay, well, we are just looking for Trump supporters to have some debates with. Goodbye. Let's go to get that next guest up in here. Yeah, okay, I'll acknowledge, should have removed him earlier, but I was having a lot of fun bullying him. I was having a lot of fun, just destroyed him. What's up, Loris? How old are you? All right, Loris is gone, everybody. We're going to move on to the next guest here, everybody. Go to drop a MAGA down below in that comment section if you do want to come up and have a debate. Carrie, thank you for the $20 over on Venmo. Let's get 200 Carrie W's. It is KERRY with the very first donation to the stream. Carrie says, for suffering through the insufferable. Oh, I'm so good at dealing with people like that now. It's just secondhand nature. I just know how to respond to that insufferability. What's up, Summer? How old are you?
I didn't think you'd actually accept it.
I'm going to go and guess that you're not MAGA, so I'm going to move on. At this point, y'all, just because there's a lot of people that aren't MAGA in the queue, which, by the way, stop it. That's very bad. Just let me know if you're MAGA in the chat, and I'll pull you up. But make sure, if you are MAGA in that chat, that means that you're at least 18 years old, you support Trump, you are from and let's just try to get all those bases covered. And we're going to move on to the next guest. We got them, everybody. Just give us a minute to get that next Trump supporter in here. Then also, going to go ahead and spam MAGA down below in that chat. Make sure that means that you're going to be willing to join the live. And if you want to support me, you can find my Venmo in the link tree in my bio, as well as in the pin message over on that YouTube stream. What's going on, Mr. Donald Trump?
Yeah.
I was
wondering, why don't you support Trump?
Okay. You sound British. Are you from Britain?
No.
What time is it?
I moved to America.
All right. So what time is it?
It's 4:23.
4:23. What state are you in? Valid. Thank you so much for the Interstellar. Holy shit, Valid. Yo, let's get 1,000 W Valids down below in the chat for the goddamn Interstellar. That is like the coolest gift ever. I really appreciate you for that. Goddard, what's going on, man? How old are you?
I'm 32.
32. All right, well, good try, buddy. You should have said 18. Let's go to move on to the next guest. If you're in that queue, make sure that means that you support Trump. What's going on, Kay? Do you support Trump?
Yeah.
Okay, age?
Huh?
How old are you?
18.
What year were you born in?
2007.
2007. What time is it?
Huh?
What time is it?
Sorry, my phone is really... One more time.
Nope. Fleetwood Mama, hello. Are you MAGA?
Yes.
You are. Oh, no. Why? Please. Why would you ever support such a train wreck of a president? I mean, truly one of the worst.
Same reason everybody else does, I suppose.
Which is?
He's doing a really good job so far, don't you think?
No, I don't. Why do you think he's doing
Why?
a good
Why don't
job
you
so
think
far?
that? What has he done that's bad so far?
Well, sure. He has violated the American Constitution 4 or 5 times since his presidency started. He's been checked by the Supreme Court on that with official rulings twice. He told an ABC News reporter that he doesn't even know if he has to uphold the Constitution. He's kind of portrayed 14 of the 14 tenets of fascism. And this big, beautiful bill, which is his like big achievement so far in his term, only cuts taxes for the top 20% of income earners. Everybody making under that top 20% actually is going to be paying more effectively in taxes. That source is the Center on Budget and Policy Priorities. And of course, this is all right in the back of his call for the termination
Okay, well,
of
let
the
me interrupt you and say
Constitution
this. Trump
and
has not
dissent.
been found guilty in a court of law violating the Constitution.
Sure he has.
No, he has not. Look
Well-
it up online. He has not been found guilty in a court of law for violating the Constitution. And please tell me where you find that information.
Would you agree that his administration oversaw the deportation of Abrigo Garcia?
Yes, but you're evading the point here. I'm asking you to find facts where it says that Trump has not been found guilty in a court of law violating the Constitution
The
because he
facts-
hasn't been found guilty in a court of law.
So the facts are on your screen. Would you like to go ahead
Yes.
and read off this?
You're
official Supreme Court
skirting. You're skirting.
ruling? No, I'm not. You asked me to find.
Trump has not been found guilty in a court of law for violating the Constitution.
So let's read.
Correct or incorrect?
Incorrect. Let's read this
No,
together.
that is okay.
So this is a order from the Supreme Court. This is a Supreme Court ruling, a SCOTUS ruling. It says on March 15th, 2025, the United States removed Kilmar Abrego Garcia from the United States to El Salvador, where he's currently being detained in CICOT. The United States acknowledges that Abrego Garcia was subject to a withholding order forbidding his removal to El Salvador, and that the removal to El Salvador was therefore illegal. All right. So this is the Trump administration being found, quote unquote, guilty of violating the Constitution, as it points deportation of Armando Abrigo Garcia was illegal in violation of the Constitution.
He has not been found guilty in a court of law for violating the Constitution, Dean. How hard is that to understand?
I just gave you a ruling from SCOTUS.
No, you gave me a that explained the situation, but he was not found guilty on the United States for violation.
So I don't
Or
know,
am I incorrect?
I don't know if you just closed while I was just speaking. You agreed that his administration was the deportation of Armando Garcia, and
I'll say it again. Trump has not been found guilty in a court of law for violating the Constitution.
Help me out here. Help me out here. This will be very beneficial. He oversaw Garcia's deportation. SCOTUS ruled that that deportation was illegal.
President of his own country, where Garcia was from, said he didn't want anything to do with Garcia
And how
because
does
he's a
this-
criminal.
How does this change the fact that SCOTUS
Is he or is he not a criminal?
So if we want to continue the SCOTUS
Is
ruling-
Garcia a criminal or not? Let's just keep going. Is
So
he a
I-
criminal or not?
So actually, no. If you want to read,
Okay, he's not a criminal. You're saying he doesn't have a criminal record.
that's also what SCOTUS says. Will you read the last part of the first paragraph?
Can you do research independently on this Garcia character and tell me that he does not have a criminal record?
Ma'am, read the last part of the first paragraph.
No,
of the
I'm
SCOTUS
done
ruling.
reading the paragraph that's trying to sugarcoat what you're saying and make it real. What
Dude,
I'm saying is he has a criminal record and everybody knows it, and you're saying that he doesn't.
Dude, okay.
So what are you trying to say?
I'm going to go ahead and just mute you so I can read off this ruling from SCOTUS. This is the very last sentence.
You're muting me because and you can't admit it.
No, I'm muting you because you're interrupting me. I'd like to read off the last sentence of the SCOTUS ruling. It says,
Go ahead. Keep up the sugarcoating. Go ahead.
how am I sugarcoating when I'm reading a ruling from the Supreme Court in which has 6 conservative justices outweighing the 3 liberal judges, but they all agreed 9-0 on this unanimous decision? My source is like 6 staunch conservatives, but let's just read off the last sentence. It says, Abrego Garcia responds that he is not a member of MS-13 and that he has lived safely in the United States with his family for a decade and has never been charged with a crime, right? So SCOTUS has said that Armando Abrego Garcia has never been charged with a crime. So who am I supposed to trust? The Supreme Court with 6 conservative judges unanimously ruling 9-0 that he doesn't have a criminal record, or some random brainwashed idiot on my TikTok live? Which one?
Okay, so here's what I found. The Supreme Court did not find former President Donald Trump personally guilty of the deportation of Kilmar Abrego Garcia. However, the court did rule that Trump administration must facilitate his return, acknowledging that the deportation violated prior legal order. So again, he was not found guilty.
Okay, wait, A, you're pivoting. And then B, can we agree that
No, we're talking about the same topic.
So no, I was responding to the fact that SCOTUS said he's never had a criminal record in which you contested. Could we agree that when you're found guilty of something in court?
Do we need to look up the criminal records for him in his country of origin? Have you done that yet?
That he has a criminal record in El Salvador.
I'm saying he absolutely has a criminal record, and he also has a criminal record in the United States. If you go prior to 2020, I believe it's in 2019. So he was arrested in a Home Depot parking lot with a group of other guys that were a part of a gang.
He's never been charged with a crime.
He was found guilty kind of by association and taken to court because of that.
So what crime was he charged with?
I'm looking that up as we speak. You can also do the same if you have a brain.
Don't worry, I already did, and I got a ruling from SCOTUS that says he's never been
charged with a crime.
crime.
No, you keep putting up the same paragraph. That's all you have. Give me something different.
But that paragraph says he's never been charged with a crime, and that's SCOTUS speaking. Why would I need anything better? What can exist that's better?
Because all you have to rely on are talking points from the mainstream media and maybe a little bit of independent research that you do from here and there to make yourself sound better. But the truth is that Donald Trump has not been found guilty in a court of law in the United States for deporting him.
Okay, so first of all,
the man has a criminal record.
So first of all, a SCOTUS ruling is not a talking point for mainstream media. And second of all, as it relates to Trump being guilty for this, can we agree that if you're found guilty in the court...
Why are you even arguing with me at this point? Because I've been correct on everything I've said.
Can you let me finish speaking, Karen?
My name is Fleetwood, thank you.
I'll call you Karen.
You can be respectful. Don't be disrespectful just because I'm right.
Do you feel like you've been disrespectful?
But this is where your lives go. You get pushed into a corner and felt uncomfortable. You sip off your anxiety pen and then you start insulting your guests.
Do you feel like you've been disrespectful to me by interrupting me every single time?
No, I've just been pointing out facts, which is exactly what you told me to do.
So the only individual that's been pointing out facts in this conversation is me. The reason why I say I'm the only individual that has been pointing out facts is because I've been able to disprove everything you've said with a ruling from the Supreme Court. Now, do not cut me off or I will mute you super fucking quick. I disproved your first claim that Donald Trump has never been found guilty for a constitutional violation by pointing out the fact that his administration illegally deported Kilmar Abrego Garcia, and that was adjudicated by the Supreme Court. Once again, when you're found guilty of something in a court, all that means is that that court has determined that you have done something that's illegal. Well, guess what? The highest court in America determined that his administration illegally deported Garcia. All right. So I'm right and you're wrong. I'm the one with facts. And then insofar as your second claim that he has a criminal history, once again, in that same Supreme Court ruling that is now on your phone screen, once again, this ruling was made by 6 conservative judges, 3 of whom were personally appointed by Trump. Very clearly points out the fact that he is never charged with a crime. Now, I know as soon as I stop talking, you're just the facts I just gave you because you're... But please try to embarrass yourself further by attempting to articulate the crime he's been charged with.
Okay, so I will agree with you on one thing and one thing only. Mr. Garcia does record in the United States in conversation before you got on your... to agree with you on that. The Trump administration, Salvador in March 5, right, citing alleged ties to the MS-13 gang. So these allegations were based on claims such as wearing clothing associated with gang culture, information from confidential informants, et cetera, et cetera. Garcia was not charged or convicted of a crime in the United States, and he was not given the test those allegations in court before his deportation. Right? Right?
Oh my God!
Are you loving that yet?
Oh, I am loving it because you just chat GPT'd it, but you didn't even think about it. Oh my God! The AI just dunked you. The AI just slam fucking dunked you.
No,
yeah,
what you don't
the
realize
little
is that
AI
I'm doing
prompt
exactly-
that you just read off proved you wrong. It proved you wrong.
I'm
the
doing the
AI
same thing
prompt
you're doing.
that you just read off said that he had no time to contest these unverified claims in court because they deported him without giving due process. Dude,
I am doing the
that was
same
so
thing
good.
you are.
That was so good that we're actually going to roll
All
the
of your
tape back.
responses are chat GPT, and how your guests
That-
don't realize
that-
that yet is
that-
insane.
You,
The same thing you did.
that's so good. We're going to roll the tape back.
One thing only. Mr. Garcia does not have a criminal record in the United States. And earlier in the conversation, before you got on your rant, I was able to agree with you on that. But despite this, the Trump administration deported him to El Salvador in March of 2025, right? Citing alleged ties to the MS-13 gang. So these allegations were based on unverified claims, such as wearing...
Oh my God! Okay, I'm sorry. Let's go back to playing what you just said. It was just so comedic. It was so comedic.
Not mean he does not have a criminal record in his home country.
Culture, information from confidential informants, et cetera, et cetera. Garcia was not charged or convicted of a crime in the United States, and he was not given the opportunity to contest those allegations in court before his deportation.
Oh my God! Oh my God! Just like the sweetness of victory, the sweetness of watching a guest
I look
slam
up
dunk
information from
themselves
his-
because you're looking up the information.
He's not
and
a
when
perfect...
you find the facts prove you wrong. That has got to be one of the best things that has ever happened on my live stream. That is like a top 10 best moments ever. Go ahead.
Okay. I never disagreed with you that he didn't have a criminal record in the United States, genius. What I was trying to say is that he has one in the country that he's from. So much so that his own president doesn't even want anything to do with him.
So first and foremost, you did argue that he has a criminal history in America.
Why don't you look that up?
1 second. You did argue that he has a criminal history in America. You argued that his criminal history was getting arrested at Home Depot in 2019.
You did not. I never said he had a criminal history in America. I never said that.
So how hard?
That's where you're wrong.
On a scale.
So laugh and scream again and act like you're right.
On a scale of 8 to 10, how hard are you trying to guess?
When you think you're right and you've one up someone, you mute them so they can't speak. I think that's hilarious.
I've only muted you since you have a big problem with interruptions.
You brought up the chat GPT response, right?
Yeah.
Why don't you turn your phone screen around and show everyone the multiple screens in front of you, because one of them is chat GPT. You're a hypocrite.
Where are my hands?
Turn your phone screen around. Show the other people the other side.
I'm not on a phone, but I actually do have my
Move
phone
the
right here.
monitor. Show them your screens.
Yeah, for sure. Sounds
You
good.
can't do that because you know that I'm right.
No, over here we have the YouTube stream. Over there we have the
No,
TikTok
no,
stream.
now you're
And over there we
discarding.
have OBS.
You're skirting, Dean. Everybody knows use chat GPT too. Don't worry. What do you have Grok pulled up to?
Okay, I'm going to disprove you and it's going to be hilarious. Are you ready?
You're not going to disprove me.
Sure I am. Watch
You're
this.
skirting. You're skirting around.
Watch this. Okay.
Go ahead.
Do you know
Change it up before you do.
Do you know what this is? Do you know what this is? Ma'am, do you know what this is?
Looks like a Wooby to me. A
So-
little safety blanket.
It's a blanket. So I'm gonna put the blanket over my head, and then I'm gonna put my hands in the air, and then I want you to ask me anything about Trump, Biden, Harris, and I will refute whatever you have to say with the blanket over my head and my hands in the air.
What point are you making by doing that, Dean?
Yeah, that I'm not using ChatGPT.
You can
and
be
you're just a
embarrassed.
sore
It's
loser.
okay to be embarrassed and called out.
Hey,
Just don't hide.
so feel free to go ahead and make a point. I'll refute it with
Go
a blanket over
ahead.
my
What
head.
are you hiding for?
So I'm isolating my eyes and my hands from being able to use any AI technology in order to respond to any point that you may have. The point of this demonstration is to refute your baseless cope and claim.
Okay,
that I
okay.
only
Well,
use
I'm not
AI
going to
in the day.
debate with a blanket and someone hiding underneath it. So good luck to your next guest.
Wow, you're running. You're running because you know that I'm about to prove
You're
you wrong and
juvenile.
You're scared of the embarrassment. How am I
You're
a juvenile
juvenile.
for willing to do whatever it takes to prove your ass
No,
wrong?
you can't have an intellectual conversation with me.
So
You're
then-
hiding under a blanket
so
because you
then
knew
prove
that
it.
I was right.
Wait, how is me?
And I called you out for using Chat GPT for half your responses.
So I'm
You haven't
unironically.
said anything semi-intellectual since then.
So then how come you haven't been able to refute anything that I've said? I love it when guests self-dunk by you implying that I am not an intellectual and there's nothing that I've said so far in this conversation that has been smart, even though I've been able to destroy you on every single fucking point, is hilarious because does that make you? Once again, the reason why I put the blanket over my head, put it back over my head, the claim that I only use GPT or Grok in order to have these conversations. I want to be able to refute that in real time by putting a blanket over my head and my hands in the air. So how about we do that? How about you do that? I want you to tell me one reason why you think good president, and I'm going to tell you why you're wrong with a blanket over my head and the hand.
President, because we have individuals like yourself lives and prove that he's not. And then they end up doing right now, like hiding under a prove your point, and everybody.
So I am yet that I could refute. He's a good president. I'm being serious. I want to prove to you that I don't use AI. Are you scared? I think you're terrified.
No, I'm not asking you a question requires an AI response, Dean.
So then ask a question that you think would require an AI response. You're scared. You know you're wrong. You know that you're bullshitting. You're scared of asking me a question.
I'm not bullshitting. I'm just running out of time. Then
ask me a question that you think would require an AI response.
Why don't you pull the phone out of your lap because you know you're looking at it on your phone?
My phone's on the fucking table, literally right here.
I don't believe you.
Dude, okay, I'll hold the phone in the air. Ask me anything.
Yeah, what about the other 4? You've got 4 or 5.
Oh my fucking God. What about
Come on.
Okay. How about this? What if I were to
Dean,
look
I've
up?
gotta go.
No, you're running, and you're scared.
No, I'm not running.
You're
I actually have a life.
You're running and you're scared because you know that I'm going to refute you. You're running and you're scared because you know that I'm going to refute you.
It's been a great conversation.
Look at this. I'm going to look up. No. Don't run away. Ask me anything. I'm going to look at the sky.
Do you accept Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior?
Oh my God. Obviously you don't. You've never read You've never read the fucking gospel a day in your life. Yeah. Where in the Bible did Jesus say when you get proven wrong, you should be the biggest Karen of all time and start making baseless false accusations?
I have to go. Take me off your live. I have to go, please.
Wait, why? Why are you unwilling to ask me something that would require an AI response while I have my hands in the air looking at my ceiling?
Well, if you're on later on this evening, we'll catch back up.
It sounds like somebody's running.
No, I have a life. I have other things.
Yeah. What do you have to do? Fucking scroll through Truth Social, Facebook, and Telegram for the next 3 hours?
I'll let the next person put you under a blanket too.
Okay. Well, the only individual who got fucking destroyed in this conversation was you.
Yeah, you keep saying that, but that's not true.
I'll happily keep saying that. And the fact that you think it's not true means that it is true, because everything that you believe in is false.
You feel better?
Great.
I got you all worked up. I didn't mean to get you worked up.
I look worked up to you?
You're all sweaty because you had that blanket over your head for so long hiding.
Where do you see sweat at?
Bye. I gotta go.
Get dunked. So yeah. We're going to move on to the next guest. That guest got shit on. If you're in that queue, make sure that does indeed mean that you support Trump. Let's go to get that next guest getting up here, y'all. Let's go to see AJ. Thank you for the $10 over on Venmo. Tell Karen she's making an idiot of herself. So real. And Elizabeth, thank you for the $40 over on Venmo. Let's get 400 Elizabeth W's. Elizabeth, for all your good work. Thank you for the $40 as well as the incredibly kind message, Elizabeth. Everybody, please show some love to Elizabeth down below. What's going on, Kenny? Are you MAGA?
Yeah, can I ask you a question real quick?
How old are you?
27.
27. Before you ask me a question, let me think a couple more people. Sean, thank you so much for the $10 over on YouTube Super Chat. And Winnie with a 20. Dude, W's for Sean and Winnie. Thank you guys so much for the love. As well as ELF, thank you so much for the $20 on YouTube Super Chat as well. You guys are awesome. Thank you guys so much. Go ahead, take it away. Ask me anything. Ask me a question. When you're on pause.
All right. So I'm sure you obviously know what the Overton window is, right?
Overton window. I think I've heard it like referenced. Is that? I may not. Tell me what it is.
It's basically the parameters of what are considered acceptable and normal political spectrum of ideas within a certain country. So the Overton window in the United States is going to look different than the Overton window in Russia or in the UK, just based on what are considered basic normal political ideologies.
Okay, so like if you fall outside of the Overton window, then you hold on like socially impermissible views that are rejected.
Sure, I would say communists fall outside of the American Overton window.
Okay, sounds good. So why do you support Trump?
Well, I didn't quite ask my question yet. So based on now your understanding of what the Overton window is, really within the American Overton window, you have really, really conservative Republicans. You have moderate conservatives, moderate Republicans, moderate liberals, and you have progressives is generally the Overton window in the United States, right?
Yeah, I might even say some socialists may fall in, but yeah.
Sure. Okay. So why do you consider yourself a liberal and not a progressive?
So I actually do consider myself a progressive.
Okay. Do you think a lot of progressives would consider you a progressive?
You'd have to ask them.
Okay. Why do you support liberal politicians?
Why do I support liberal politicians? Because they're the best we got right now.
Do you have more support of liberal politicians or progressive politicians?
More support likely for more progressive politicians.
Okay, so who's a liberal politician you don't like?
Who's a liberal politician I don't like? Maybe that one guy that's a Democratic senator that like just loves Trump. One of the first things that he did was went to Mar-a-Lago when Trump's term started, or after the election. I forget his name though. I think he's a Democrat from Kentucky. None of this matters. Tell us why you support Trump.
Do you like Cory Booker?
Do I like Cory Booker? I think he's all right. I mean, definitely compared to like other Democrats in Congress, he's definitely taken more of a stand against
As he, do you support him voting to confirm Jared Kushner's father, who's a convicted criminal? I do think that there
is a lot of things that Cory Booker has done that I don't support. However, this live is not about Cory Booker. This live is about Trump. So why do you support Trump?
Fair. And I know I'm going to get kicked off in a second, but I just want to say that I think that you're very intelligent. I think that you have the capacity to do a lot of really good work and change a lot of hearts and minds. I think it's unfortunate that you use your massive platform to create what I see as gotcha content for the left's equivalent of owning the libs, how that's right-wing grifters make money off of owning the libs and making ridiculous content that's not actually trying to change anybody's minds or make any progress in society. And I feel like your lives have become that for the left. And I think it's really unfortunate because I think you do have the opportunity to have actual conversations and change people's minds, because this is literally the only format where that is possible. And I find it really unfortunate that you don't choose to use that opportunity to do that. So obviously I don't support Trump. I think that's clear by this point. I am very, very far on the left. I probably fall outside of the Overton window on the left.
I think that you just have a misunderstanding of what I do and what I'm about and who I am as a person. And this misunderstanding is typical, and that's fine. So when you're going to see clips of me on the internet, or either it's on your TikTok For You page because somebody recorded it off of my YouTube live or so on, you will likely only see that gotcha content with a very explosive, radical, crazy guest like the last two people we've had on the live, because that's what gets engagement in the algorithm. And keep in mind, I'm not the one uploading it, other individuals are. And B, I give the same energy that others give to me, right? So when we have these crazy conservatives that are just absolutely experiencing mind degradation and are deep in the cult that come at me very hot and heavy, well, you could expect that I'm going to give them back that same energy. However, when we do have individuals that request to come up in this space for a very genuine, good faith dialogue, I'm more than happy to engage with them in a genuine good faith dialogue. And honestly, a good example of that would be the conversation we're having. Like you disagree with something I'm doing, and instead of me throwing the gotchas and the quick respect that you're giving me, and I want to sit down and try to have a genuine good faith conversation with you about our disagreement, right? And you maybe don't see those conversations as much because that's not what gets clipped, posted, and explodes on that For You page, or maybe you just don't watch my stream down, or maybe you just supporter that has the confidence to request up onto this live is not going to be somebody that's open-minded and willing to engage in a good faith conversation themselves. I think that there's many reasons why you only see the more gotcha conversations, but at the end of the day, I love having good faith dialogue with people that are willing to hear me out and come to me not to berate me or demean me, but rather to better understand my perspective.
I think that's totally fair, and I have seen you do really good work, which is why I felt like it was worth it to even try to have a conversation with you to begin with. I really didn't expect to get on your stream. I appreciate you hearing me out. I do think that you have the capacity to be a really, really, really strong voice on the left. I think that using that voice to really amplify progressive voices, I think is going to be really important. I think that trying to do work for the Democratic Party that they're failing to do themselves is not super effective. And I think that you could be more effective if you spent more of your time prioritizing those good faith conversations and not allowing so many of the crazies to go on for as long as they do, even though I know it's fun. It's very fun. It makes a lot of good content.
You're probably right. You're probably right. But the thing is at the same time, I think that there's a lot of crazies on the right that have spent the entirety of their life doing nothing but bullying, degrading, and engaging in different forms of prejudice, phobias, and isms. And I love seeing them get a taste of, their same medicine. And quite frankly, I feel like a lot of people would agree on that point, that good, productive dialogue is really important. But it can also really work insofar as perpetuating stigmas around incredibly bigoted and around incredibly bigoted bullies to give them the same energy they've been giving other people for years and years and years and years. And in fact, I'd even argue that is a very productive tool that can be used by people on the left to further sway the average American to the left. Because who the hell wants to be a part of this isolated community far on the right that stands for nothing but bigotry, that just gets bullied and stigmatized by the rest of society? I mean, I don't know, man. If you're willing to be a bully, if you're willing to be a bigot, if you're willing to be an asshole, okay, well, I think I should be well within my rights to give you back that same energy.
I don't disagree with you. I think that they do deserve it, and that it's, other people probably enjoy seeing it, and I sometimes enjoy seeing it myself. And I'm not saying that they deserve anything better than that kind of treatment. I just think that you are incredibly intelligent, and we need incredibly intelligent people to do this work all of the time. And I don't think that those people are deserving of as much of your time and energy as I see you give to them. And I think that we need people like you to be really, really aggressive about, fighting for the right things and making the right things talked about constantly instead of just constantly dunking. But I know you can kick me. That's fine. Go back to what you do. I appreciate you. I don't have a problem with you. I think you're great.
Okay. Thank you so much for coming up, Kenny. I apologize if you think that I'm rude for abruptly cutting you off. I am cutting you off because at this point I'm going to go back to the debates, but I appreciate you for your input. I thought that was a very productive dialogue. Hello, Faye. Do you support Trump?
Hello, my name's Frankie. I do support Trump. I'm 28 years old in Pennsylvania.
Okay, so why do you support Trump?
So I'm gonna be real with you. The election he lost, where Biden won, where it said to put your political party, because I'm gonna be real with you, I am not educated as you and other debaters about politics. But one thing that I have a problem with is my view on abortion. I know it stems from religion, which it should, like religion and other people's comfort about. I don't know.
So you think that abortion's wrong because you're a Christian, but you acknowledge that Christian values that you hold shouldn't be intertwined with the state insofar as how we legislate, correct?
That is correct. And
Well,
then
you have the foundation for an incredibly strong pro-choice perspective. I feel like the pro-choice perspective is misinterpreted by a lot of people because of political propaganda. But the fact of the matter is, being pro-choice doesn't mean that you have to think that abortion's okay. In fact, you could think that abortion is incredibly immoral while just simply upholding that perspective you do, of basically saying that what drives my moral beliefs shouldn't be able to drive the legislation of our country. You hold just as valid of a pro-choice perspective as I do.
Huh. You're so respectful, dude. If anybody can ever change the way I think, it is you, man.
Well, I appreciate you.
But so what was so when do you think fetus, or should it be a born human? When do you think a human should have rights or a potential life or whatever you may see?
Great question. So I think that fetuses should gain around 20 through 24 weeks in utero development. The reason why I think that is because that is understanding that neurobiologists share through a consensus of when a fetus gains the ability to deploy any level of sentience or consciousness. The reason why I find that so valuable, that is the only explains my other intuitions, like dead people, why I don't patients, or why I may value non-humans less than human. And I think ultimately reduces down to sentience.
Okay, that's really hard to disagree with.
Right. But once again, you can disagree that you value a fetus conception because you think that's what the Christian Bible guides you to believe, as long as you also make that recognition that you shouldn't be able to use the Christian Bible to advocate
Dictate
just
others.
to
They even
the
have their own
legislation of
beliefs.
the state. Yeah.
Right.
And in that there is a certain now hear me out, everybody. Hear me out, because you're hearing me say beneficial to America for people to think that abortion's wrong while still being pro-choice. Yes, because you can think that abortion's wrong, think that women should be able to make that decision for themselves, while then also looking at the reasons why women get abortions to see if you could eliminate those reasons to reduce the amount of abortions because you think they're wrong. 55% of women that get abortions indicate that they do so because of financial instability. So if you want to reduce the amount of women that are getting abortions because you think it's immoral, guess what? Let's reduce the levels of financial instability that new families experience. How can we do that? By increasing the child tax credit, by offering higher minimum, by trying to make the quality of life better for everybody, right? By advocating for greater levels of tax cuts and better social safety nets for low and middle class Americans. I mean, these are all systems which would be on track to eliminate the incentives that a lot of women have to get abortions. Right. And that ends up benefiting you because you think abortion's wrong. And that ends up benefiting America as well as the women in it, because guess what? Now we're being more critical of financial instabilities.
So, has it ever been like these abortions are funded by taxpayers? Like, is that where the right usually has a problem with it?
So no, usually the right has a problem because it is what they think it's murder, or they just want to control women. Is insofar as it being funded by taxpayers, I don't think that there's any federal funding, and I think that maybe some states do it. Maybe, I don't know, but I know the state that I live in doesn't.
Okay, because then that's where I would see where it would be wrong, and then I just feel like using it as a form of using abortions as a form of birth control. If you watch a lot of the popular right wing speakers, they'll always say, "Oh, 97% of abortions is not because of the R word or incest." I don't know. TikTok, I apologize if not.
So what you're taking issue with there isn't the abortion. You're just taking issue with women. like I think that's a misogynistic view. I could explain why. When you say that women are using abortion as birth control, what do you mean?
Well, I mean, I guess it's hard to say, but usually, like, whenever you have sex, you know what the potential risk is. Like, you know what you're signing up
Right. You're
for.
basically saying that there's women in America that uphold different values and preferences in the context of romance, intimacy, and sex than you do. Therefore, you think that there's something wrong with them engaging in those actions via their different preferences and then getting an abortion and a pregnancy. I think first and foremost, we need to acknowledge that, well, there's nothing wrong about an abortion fundamentally, which is where you disagree. And B, we engage in a lot of actions that run risks that we don't consent to. Like, for instance, I think a really good analogy is driving. Every single time you get in your car to go to work, to go get an ice cream cone from DQ, you acknowledge and understand that there's a risk that you're going to, I don't know, get T-boned by a drunk driver. And that's completely outside of your control, something that you're consenting to. Well, I view conception synonymously to how I view getting T-boned by a drunk driver when I'm going to get an ice cream cone from DQ. Conception is a biological process that you can't consent to, that you can't control, that you can't say no to. You could only reduce the probability that it by not drinking yourself, or maybe being a little bit more of a defensive driver, right? And the same thing is true of conception, right? And I think that's important to recognize.
Okay. So, oh my, dude, you're so smart. This shit's crazy.
I appreciate you for being willing to hear me out, man. But if you think you could point out a distinction between how, yes, sex may introduce the possibility of conception occurring, how that is any different than how driving may introduce the possibility of getting T-boned by a drunk driver.
Here's another way that I view it, because it's not really I want to control what other people are doing. It's really I might be getting fed false information. I don't want to finance what this other person's doing because I just feel like I'm not responsible for their choices.
Okay. I
Do you
mean,
know what I
I
mean?
just I feel like that is like a completely different conversation than maybe the one that we should be having, which is about goal at all. I feel like the big issue in America today maybe isn't this idea that abortion is or is not being funded by the state, but it's rather the fact that 66 million American women don't have access to elective lethal abortions because their state legislators said so, and the fact that there's 60 great victims that are denied access to abortion every single day in 10 of our states because their legislator said so. Now, if you want to have a conversation if it should be state funded or not state funded, I feel like that's just going to have deeper roots and maybe why you would agree or disagree with universal forms of healthcare. But as far as I'm concerned, historically speaking, we haven't really seen many state offered services to fund access to abortion.
All right. Well, I have one more question before I depart here.
God.
And I would like you to name your 3 favorite sources on getting true. And is there any such thing as a neutral news source? Is that a such thing?
Well, I mean, I think that every news source is going to have bias, including those that are left-leaning. I just simply argue that those sources that are left-leaning, that have that left-leaning bias, is just simply because reality has a left-leaning bias. But if you want the best sources, I'd recommend looking at sources like Reuters and AP.
Reuters and AP.
Yeah.
All right, Dan.
Okay. Well,
I appreciate it, dude. I think I might be on the wrong side. I think, just always false information, and where you're at really dictates what information you're being fed too,
Yeah, man, that's very true. I appreciate you for coming up and having a good faith conversation with me. It was refreshing.
All righty, bro.
Take
it easy.
care. We're going to move on to the next, guys. If you're one of the 7.8 thousand people tuning in, guys, make sure that we're double tapping away on that phone screen, sharing out the live with a handful of friends, and spamming Mag in that chat if you'd like to come up and debate. We're going to get that next guest up here right now. That was a really refreshing conversation. I really appreciate that guy. But let's go to get that next guest up here literally right now. We're going to go to load Matt into the live. And while we do, I'd like to thank Brianna for the $50 donation on PayPal. Holy fuck, Brianna. Brianna says, sad that I have to leave early, but good to see you live. Thank you for the love, Brianna. Let's get 500 Brianna W's. That is BR. I'd also like to thank G for the $50 over on PayPal. Fuck, Susan with the $50 on PayPal as well. Let's show some to G, Brianna, and Susan down below in that for the $50 each on PayPal. Susan says, I love when they start and they on you. Yeah, that's definitely a little bit insufferable. G says, you're doing great work. You're being great work. That is incredibly kind of you so much. I really appreciate you guys. What's going on? Are you MAGA?
Yes, I am. I'm also 20 and I'm from New York.
Nice, man. So why do you support Trump?
I support Trump for the foreign policy reason.
Oh no. Which foreign policy specifically?
Not specifically, but more ahead of like putting America first.
Oh geez.
Instead of like sending out so much money.
Oh geez.
And actually trying to sit down with leaders and actively talking and more expressing what he's doing with the country instead of like what Biden was doing. We weren't getting.
Are you talking about like giving money to Ukraine and you think that puts America last?
No, I'm not saying that giving money puts us last.
You're just saying
I'm saying
the money, like stopping sending the money puts America first.
No, you're putting words in my mouth. You're putting words in my mouth.
I don't think I'm putting any words in your mouth. I'm just trying to understand your argument.
I'm trying to explain it, but you're interrupting me. Let me finish my thought.
Okay.
It doesn't put us first, we're sending money. It doesn't put us last, that we're not sending it. That's not what I said.
So then what are you saying?
I'm saying that us sending money isn't the best way to deal with it. Sitting down and having these discussions with these leaders is a really good way. Yeah. And not only does it allow for the leaders to speak, but it allows the people to show how the leaders act within each other.
Okay. I think that you're wrong. And Trump's first 120 days of his presidency proves it. This is an idea that he ran on. He said that we shouldn't be spending money on Ukraine. We should be trying to get Putin and Zelensky to sit down at the negotiation table. And he said that was such an effective way of ending the conflict that he'd be able to end the war in the first 48 hours of his presidency. We're now 120 days in. There's been no progress. There's been no ceasefires. There's been no peace agreements. And right now, Trump is literally begging Putin to stop bombing Ukraine. and Putin has not entertained a single ceasefire offer from Ukraine and has ignored Zelensky and continued to kill innocent civilians at every turn, right? And in fact, I think that this proves that you're wrong. Okay, because he revoked all humanitarian support for the country. Their defense was weakened, which just made it easier for Putin to go in, kill more people, which made it easier for Putin to reject the ceasefires. Since now the state of Russia holds more power.
Okay, so if you believe that Trump sitting down with people, sitting down with the leaders, is not a good way, and trying to have these discussions,
what has it achieved in his first 120 days in office?
Okay, let me just finish. Sure. If you don't believe that him sitting down with leaders is a good way to have these discussions, to show the people that these discussions are happening, what do you believe that Biden was doing?
I want to clarify that discussions haven't been happening. Tell me what progress has been made on the front of Ukraine and Russia.
Okay, we're specifying on one war. I'm talking about the U.S. versus the world.
Okay,
we're not versus the world.
What other wars could you be talking about?
Stop interrupting.
Donald Trump hasn't advocated for like Palestine and Israel to sit down. In fact, he's just given them more money to further their ethnic cleansing of the Palestinian individuals. In fact, he's even launched an operation to personally ethnically cleanse the 1.2 million Palestinians living on the Gaza Strip, revoking their right to return to build a Riviera, gifting Netanyahu. So who could you possibly be speaking about?
I am talking about the U.S. relations and all the other nations.
But I want you to give a specific example.
No, please stop interrupting. Dean,
okay.
I have letting you speak. I have not interrupted.
Yeah, that's fair, man. I'll stop interrupting you. I just think that you're being purposely vague because you wouldn't be able to defend this view as it was applied to a specific conflict.
Okay, so him sitting down with these multiple leaders, South African leader, Zelensky, him doing all this, it allows for the people of each country to see where the progress is going, see how their leaders act.
What progress has been made with South Africa? What progress has been made with Zelensky?
The progress, there hasn't been much progress. I'll give you that, yes. But what progress did Biden make in 4 years? It's been less than a year. He's had multiple discussions. He's had the ability to sit down. With the South African president, he was a straight liar, and he got exposed for it.
No, the South African president exposed the fuck out of fucking Trump. So I just want to clarify that you do acknowledge that Donald Trump has made no progress with Zelensky. I just want to clarify, right?
Okay, no progress on paper. Yes, there's still guns firing. Yes, I understand that.
Right.
But the ability
right.
To talk,
yeah, can you acknowledge that? Can you acknowledge that he's actually caused more regression? Okay, because he's stripped them of their humanitarian funding, which has made them weaker when fighting off the oppositional force of the intruder of the state of the Russian Federation. So not only has he not made any progress, but he's actually introduced regression.
I don't believe that us sending so much money is the best way to deal with it. I understand, yes, it's going to allow for people who don't have anything to do with the war to survive, to get food in order to live and be safe, yes. But us sending so much money and there not being real progress, there needs to be discussions.
Okay, I'm going to tell you why supporting Ukraine with money is a good idea. Significantly better than what you're saying. First and foremost, revoking humanitarian aid has caused active regression. More innocent Ukrainians, it is further emboldened Russia to be able to claim more state of Ukraine. And you think exactly what Putin wants you to think. We have leaked documents where he talks about their propaganda in America by convincing the American and spending too much money on you. So if it was genuinely better for Ukraine for us to not be giving them money, how come Putin could have stopped giving them money? I wonder, maybe that implies you're not genuinely better for Ukraine. And it's also important to point out that when we stop supporting Ukraine, we're operating in a vacuum. That slack has to be picked up by somebody, particularly other countries in NATO, like France, are now considering putting NATO boots on the ground of Ukraine to fight, shoot, and kill Russian troops. Increases the probability of a third world war. What if Putin says, fuck no, I'm not going to take NATO boots on the ground of Ukraine from France and UK killing my troops, so now I'm going to target them. Guess what? Article 5 is revoked and the third world war starts. Okay.
There has been progress, and that's the
my
thing
last
that
point here
Dean
is
doesn't want you
there's
to,
no
to
progress,
realize,
and you admit it.
is there
There's
has
only been active
progress
regression. His plan isn't
with
working. You're false
all this
propaganda.
administration
No
that's cooking
wonder
right now.
the state of Russia has interfered with the last 3 elections to help get Trump elected. Right, and I also find it
And
funny
that's the thing.
Very
that
That's
you're
another thing. He
completely
wants to
ignoring the
make you believe
fascism
there's
that exists at home here in
fascism.
America.
This
You're
government is pretty
completely
much
ignoring
the most
this
fascist
big,
government
beautiful
we have
bill
right now.
that is ridiculous
That is not
because
true.
he fulfills all 14 defining characteristics of fascism.
Okay, list them and tell me how he has total control of everything. Well, why are you looking it up?
Because I need to look up the 14 defining characteristics. I don't have them
Oh,
memorized.
interesting. I thought you were so highly educated. That's what you clowned everybody else for. You said you're so more educated than them.
So I do think I am much more educated than many of the guests that come on my live. However, I hope you wouldn't expect me to have all
Hello,
14
Shorty.
tenets of fascism.
DOA
memorized.
coming in hot.
I mean, you're the one, you hold yourself so highly educated. I don't, the other people don't hold themselves highly educated. You clown other people calling them dumb.
Well, I
but then you
hope.
have to
Oh,
look
one
them
second.
up.
I hope I hope
Mike?
I'd be educated. I only do this for 4 hours a day, and it's my full-time job. Do you think it's like pompous and egotistical when people say that they're good at their job that they've been doing for years? No.
Okay, you're saying you're good at your job. You're saying this, but then you're also admitting that you need to look something up. This isn't my job.
And what's
I have a
wrong
life.
about that?
What do you mean? There's nothing wrong with it, but I'm saying
So if there's
you're gonna
nothing
say
wrong
you're
about
so
it, how
highly
come you're
educated-
talking about it as
Stop
if there is
interrupting,
something wrong?
Stop interrupting. Stop interrupting.
Are you
stop
mad that
interrupting.
I'm on your ass?
No, you're mad that I'm on your ass. I have not interrupted you.
Do I
once.
seem mad?
Speak so well. You're interrupting me again. Please let me speak.
For
You're
sure.
not letting
I
me
would just love for you to clarify why you're somehow talking down on me looking up the 14 defining characteristics of fascism.
I'm not talking down on you.
Yes,
I'm
you
saying
are.
you talked down. Look anything up. You said you with the other guest. I think it was whatever their name was. Saying you don't use any of these sources. You don't need to look ChatGPT. You don't need to look Google stuff up. You actually you clowned on somebody.
So with all due
for
respect,
them,
that was
saying they were
absolutely
looking stuff
justified.
up while you're arguing.
So you're talking about Karen. I think I was totally within my rights to clown on Karen.
No, I don't.
Hello,
I don't think it was
Republican.
the
How you
Karen
doing?
lady. I think that's kind of funny
So
that you
then-
have to use a
so
term to
then
call
who was
people
it?
when your side actually doesn't like using terms to describe people.
Well, Karen's not a slur.
Okay, it's still a derogatory term. You're trying to insult her.
Well, it's
still
the reason why it's derogatory to call somebody a Karen is because of the negative virtues that are exemplified by Karen. And she exemplified those negative virtues, so it was just a mere description of reality.
Okay, so you're just gonna call anybody how it is.
How you doing?
That's an interesting viewpoint. That's kind of right wing.
I'll definitely call a Karen a Karen.
Okay. So I'll let you continue with the 14 fascism points.
Right. In the future, I wouldn't recommend shitting on people for Googling their resources so they can detail to
Hello,
you
J-Ron.
accurate information.
I'm not shitting on people. I'm shitting on you because you clown other people for Googling while you debate with them. So
No, that's
you
actually not
hypocritical.
true. You're completely misrepresenting reality. I clowned on her because she looked up an AI overview that disputed what she was saying. Oh, I will clown on people all
clowned
day.
on other people. You've clowned on other people for looking up during a debate. I'll pull out clips later on. Don't worry.
Do it.
want you to prove your point.
Okay.
Unless you're going to drop it.
Can you look up the?
Do it right now. No, I want you to prove your point. Unless you're going to drop it.
What happened to the 14 points?
Well, I have them pulled up right next to me, but I want you to be able to prove your point
That
before
I
I leave.
baselessly shit on people.
The point that you clown on people for?
Yeah, the point that I baselessly shit on people for looking up resources before they speak. With no other
Not
reason.
before. I didn't say before. You're putting words in my mouth. I'm saying during
So
an
I'm
argument.
looking up the resources before I
I
speak.
just want to clarify that you have
Yeah.
no contestment to me.
Okay, but you're the one that says you're so
So
highly
I just want
educated.
to clarify that you have no contestment to be looking up these 14 tenets of fascism.
Sure, go ahead. You have said you don't like.
You do have contention.
stuff like
Okay.
that. But I'll give it to you. Go.
So you just said that I have done stuff like that, but I didn't. So when have I done?
up during an argument.
Okay, show me.
What have you done? You have talked down on people for looking up during an argument.
I'm not your fanboy.
Show me.
So you can't prove your point.
You want me to pull up all your sources? I'm not your fanboy. I'm sorry.
you love
So you
I'm
can't
not
prove your
looking
point?
to be turned into one. I'll look up. I know you love your TikTok clips, and I'll be turned into one. But can you turn?
For sure. Who brought
Can
me
we continue the point of this, which is about Trump and not you?
Who brought me up first? Though?
and
I'm bringing up the point that you're looking something up,
during an argument.
and you have against people who've looked something up during an argument.
Again,
My
you
ears
can't
must
prove
have
that.
deceived me
Okay,
many
sure.
times before.
I'm sorry. Ears must have deceived me many times before.
The first one is
So
powerful.
let's go over the 14 defining characteristics of fascism. The first one is powerful and continuing nationalism. We always like to reference this tenet first. Is non-powerful and continuing. So you accepting this is a little bit of a competency test as how good faith you are. So that Donald Trump ran on powerful and continuing nationalism.
So the second tenet of fascism is
Of course, he's a nationalist. I understand that.
So the second tenet is a disdain for human rights. The most recent examples of Donald Trump holding a disdain for human rights is illegally deporting without due process, without his hearing in court, and having El Salvador place him in a center for terrorists, even though that was only an allegation that couldn't be proven, with his response that he doesn't give a shit. Also then saying to an ABC News reporter that he doesn't know he has to honor the Constitution.
So I think that demonstrates reason for us to believe that second point, which is
okay.
So I think that demonstrates reason for us to believe
what do you think
that
about
second point, which is a
straight
disdain for human
definition of
rights.
fascism, that it is a
But what do you think about
sorry.
the straight definition of fascism, that it is a controlled state,
I can't
or
hear
not
you.
controlled state, sorry.
But we can't hear you. See me.
I can't hear you.
Pull out the exact definition of
What?
We
so
can't hear you. You
have
can't see me.
tenets of fascism.
Okay, 1 second. I'm gonna pull out the exact definition and then I'll
So
object.
thank
you so much for the $20 over on YouTube Super Chat.
I guess while you're doing that, I'd like to thank a couple people.
Jay,
Jay, thank you so much for the $20 over on YouTube Super Chat. Jay says, man, after that last guy shitting on you about the 14 points, I had to donate another 20. God, I wish I could talk to my friends like you do. Respect. Jay, I really appreciate you for that. Let's show some love to Jay in that chat. As well as Desi, thank you for the $40 over on YouTube Super Chat. Saying Dean is one of the best and funniest political debaters and is cooking per usual. Thank you for the love, Desi. Let's get 400 Desi W's. As well as Mark, thank you for the 20 Canadian for you. Yeah, the last conversation was
Thank you.
Archer, thank you for the $20 as well. Saying good to see you, Dean. Archer, it's great to see you as well. Thank you. V, thank you for the $10. I really appreciate that. Does it make sense for my dad to be libertarian and MAGA? Nope. Sabrina, thank you for the $14. Saying you skipped over my last super chat.
Jay with another $20. Catherine with a 20. And Barbara with a 20. Guys, thank you so much.
Sabrina, thank you. As well as Jay with another $20. Catherine with a 20. And Barbara, thank you so much. As well as Cameron, thank you for the $35 over on PayPal. 350 Cameron W's. That's what we see. Saying, let me get up on the live at
and then Jen, thank you for the $25
I'll try to get you up next if you're still next year. And then Jen, thank you for the $25 on Venmo. Austin, thank you for the 15. Lillian with a 4. AJ with a 10. And Stephanie with the $50 on Venmo. Let's get 500 Stephanie W's. 250. Oh my god. As well as Jen with a 25, and then once again Austin with a 15.
Matt, go ahead. Okay, I was just letting you finish up the donation.
Matt, go ahead.
Okay.
So
I was just wanting to finish up the donations.
So we're skipping to.
How do you think he
let's
controls
see
the
here,
media?
16 to fascism.
Let's bring that point up.
So we're skipping to.
So first, I'd like it to be known that one of the
16 to fascism, which is controlled media. So first, I'd like it to be known that one of the tenets can be false, and if there's a sufficient amount of other tenets, fascism can still exist. They don't need to necessarily meet all 14. However, I do meet
the federal government.
the branch of the federal government, fund media organizations that he doesn't like, such as BBC and AB and NPR. So he did defund them both to reduce their to disseminate facts from the Kremlin. It's also the case media institutions of ABC and CNN legal, right? Even though they have a constitutional right to exist as a media organization, he also defunded PBS, and he has tried to sue news organizations for reporting the facts, such as when he tried to sue ABC
they
for
settled
calling him a
outside of
rapist.
court, so he didn't win. I think
Didn't he win that case?
No, they
Wasn't there a
settled.
settlement?
They settled outside of court, so he didn't win.
Yeah.
I think the
However, the
reason
claim that
why
he's a great
ABC.
true. In fact,
However, the claim that he's
a judge did rule that
still
each
true. In
claim
fact, that's
that
already been
Donald Trump was
adjudicated by
substantially true.
Wrong.
Okay, so
judge
So besides that lawsuit,
Okay, so
that was settled
so
out.
besides that lawsuit
Right to lock up journalists.
that he
Wrong.
Okay.
without
He has the ability. Not sorry, not the
okay,
ability.
yeah,
Sorry, that was great.
he has
Police,
the
wants to
ability,
talk to who he
not
wants to talk to. If he's in
wants
his
to
office, if he's in his
talk to
president's
who
office,
he wants
why
to
should
talk.
he be taking disrespectful
If
questions?
he's in
I
his
understand it's
office,
important. But if there's a
he's in
reporter,
his
when he's talking about
president,
certain issues,
but there's
and
a
there's a reporter asking about
reporter
Qatar's gift
when
plan,
he's talking about
the
certain
gift
issues,
about his plane,
and there's a
disrespectful. Especially
reporter
one example, I think
asking
it was during the South African meeting. One reporter
especially
asking most.
one
We're
example,
talking about
I think
reporters
it
at
was
meeting in South
Are we
Africa.
talking
Has
about
nothing to do with
reporters
him.
at his
It wasn't
meeting with the
meeting with
South
him. It
African
was a meeting with
president?
Trump
That
and South
has
African
nothing to do
president
with any of the
during that.
points that I
What
just
does this have
made.
to
it
do?
wasn't a meeting with
Prove you wrong on this point, but that doesn't, like, it's not responding to anything.
Listen, I could prove you wrong on this point, but
I'm going to respond to
it's not
everything you said. You
responding
want
to
me to
anything that I
respond?
said.
Yeah, like just like respond to the points that I made.
How do you want me to respond to everything
I didn't
you
make a point
said?
about any reporter against
Like,
South African
I don't make a
I made
point
points
about
about how
any
he's defunded
reporter that's meeting with
BBC and
the
PBC,
South
and then
African
he called
president.
CNN and
I made
ABC.
points about how he's defunded NBC
Do,
and
do, should we look
PBC,
into
and
why
then
he
called
defunded
CNN
them?
and ABC illegal.
Why? Like,
He
what's the
defunded
reason
them.
he defunded them?
Why?
Why is
Like, what's the reason he defunded them?
they're liberal? They're
Like,
left.
why is
You won't find one.
So he doesn't support their
They're
ideology.
liberal. They're left wing.
So he doesn't want
okay? So he doesn't support their
fascist,
ideology.
fascist things.
So
People are
He
and
doesn't
he doesn't
support
want
things that people or institutions
Okay,
in which
so
they
how
don't
is he
support the ideology of. Yeah,
How is
that's
he
true.
over controlling the media?
Okay, so how is he not allowing them to speak? How is he over controlling the media?
He's using the power
And
that he
also,
has
I
as
also think it's
in the
important to
executive
recognize that
branch
he's
of
doing
the
the same thing at
government.
Harvard. Okay.
To recognize that he's
How
doing the
is
same
less
thing to
money
Harvard.
take
Okay,
away your
like
ability
he
to
How is
defunds.
less money take away your ability to speak?
ability for media
It
organizations
reduces
to
your
speak
ability to speak because the
support said
ability for
speech?
media organizations to speak
How?
requires
You're
funding
just
to
looping there.
support said speech.
That's a loop. It costs money
How?
to run news.
You're just looping
Do I
there.
need to demonstrate? Do I need to prove that to
That's a
you?
loop.
It
No, it
costs
doesn't.
money to run
Companies cost
news
money, but
media
he's not.
organizations. Do I need
That's
to
not my
demonstrate?
point. I'm
Do I
saying
need-
how does
That's not my
How does
point. I'm saying
money
how does
take away the speech?
how does
To pay
the money take away
for
the
airtime?
speech?
to pay journalists,
I mean,
anchors,
why
to
do
pay
they-
supporting
why-
staff,
If
to pay.
speech, why do they need the money for it?
Okay,
Do I need to
why?
continue?
Why do if they're so loving about free speech, why do they need the money for it?
Like
Why do they need the money? Well, I don't think you're asking the right question. But the fact of the matter is that he took away, like, intentionally
Wrong.
reduce
Yes,
the
he's
ability that they
taking
have to
away the
disseminate
knowledge
news because he doesn't like what they say.
news media organization.
Okay, yes,
It's-
he's taking away
And
the
then
money.
also, like,
He
let's
doesn't
acknowledge
like
that
what
it's
they say.
never heard
called
that,
news media
but,
organizations illegal. Right?
Around a month ago.
I'm not sure. I've never heard that. But
He said that at the headquarters of the DOJ around a month ago. He called CNN and ABC illegal. Right? So
okay,
it's a
I'm not
precedent.
gonna
And
say
he-
you're
and he's,
lying.
and he's done the same. And he's now done the same thing at Harvard. Harvard has been pretty anti-Trump insofar as like not respecting his command to them to infringe upon the free speech of the students at their school. And in response, he has defunded Harvard from all federal funding. And after Harvard still didn't concede to his fascist demands, yesterday he ordered all international students have their permits revoked.
They are they're obviously against Trump right now.
Well, because they're for the Constitution, they support the First Amendment right to freedom of speech.
Okay, if they're against Trump and they don't want to support his ideology, why should he?
Wait, the ideology that they don't want to support is First Amendment infringement.
Yeah, I think he told them that
Such as?
they didn't like the fact
Yeah, I think he told them that they didn't like the fact that there's pro-Palestinian protesters speaking bad about Israel. And like I don't know, they even made the claim
Speaking or
that
terrorizing your students. You sure?
Yep.
No, I want you to
What about Columbia? What do you think about that
I
university?
don't know. I want you to respond to
respond
Harvard.
about Harvard.
Yeah, he's defunded them.
What else do you want me to respond about Harvard?
Yeah, he's defunded them, and he's said that they can no longer accept international students to further hurt them because they will not concede to his demand of violating their students' First Amendment right to freedom of speech.
So yes, he's making a power move in order to control. I understand
Right,
the
that's
control
fascist.
part is going to set off the fascist. I understand the control is going to set off a fascist ideology. I understand that.
Right,
He
that's
wants
one of us.
control. Any president, any leader is gonna have control over their country. If they have one of the most esteemed universities in the country,
Yeah, he's making our country dumber. He's slowing GDP growth by excommunicating all international students, even though one reason why we have such a strong economy, one of the most esteemed universities in the world, and then join the American labor force and start cutting edge, innovative companies that wouldn't have been possible and wouldn't have existed or been built or been operated inside of America if we didn't accept international students in the first place. And he's doing that because they refuse to infringe upon their students' constitutional right to freedom of speech. Yeah.
So, how is him asking for the students and their information infringing their freedom of speech?
He didn't ask anything. He told them that they have to excommunicate all current international students and no longer accept any new applications from international students. It's not asking, it's demanding.
Not asking, yes, he's demanding because he's the president. I understand that. But how is that taking away his freedom of speech?
Because he's telling Harvard that they have to restrict and condemn and punish students for speech, else he will do what he did. Right? So he's basically saying, control their speech or you get fired.
Okay, I understand that, but these Palestinians have gotten so out of control and violent. And this you cannot say isn't true. They have a pattern.
We're talking specifically about speech.
Okay, I understand that.
What?
Specifically about speech.
Okay, I understand that. Yes, we're talking
about
speech. But we'll talk about where those speeches lead us. Those groups, when they have their speeches, where does this lead?
So see, now you're just being sympathetic to the fascism because you think that the speech will promote violence.
No, I'm saying that this speech has a pattern.
Do you think it should be illegal? Do you think it should be illegal for white people in America to say the N-word since using racial slurs can promote racial violence?
Honestly, I don't believe that any side should.
That's not. I asked you if it should be illegal.
No.
It should
Illegal
be a punishable crime to say the N-word.
No.
Wait, but it's violence, and you're saying it should be a punishable offense to advocate for Palestine on college campuses because you think it promotes violence.
The N-word doesn't directly incite violence. It can cause.
That's not true. That's not true.
This is the same
racial slurs directly incite racial violence.
Okay. Sure.
To advocate for Palestine on college campuses, therefore, should be also, because you think it incites violence, it should also be punishable to say the N-word, right?
I don't think it should be punishable to talk about it.
But that's exactly what Donald Trump is saying. He wants it. He's making it He wants Harvard to make it punishable to advocate against the state of Israel.
Okay, I understand that, and I'm not saying that talking is bad, but we need to look.
But that's what Trump is saying.
But no. We need to look.
It is. He particularly was calling out the speech.
Where does this speech lead to? What does the speech lead?
Now we're in the circle because I just gave you the counter argument for this. You're saying that you think that speech incites violence. Therefore, that speech should be punishable. Correct?
Kind of sounds like what I'm saying.
Kind of sounds like what I'm saying, but that is very.
So the speech of saying the N-word as a white person incites violence. Therefore, you think that speech should be punishable. Correct?
No, speech should not be punishable.
That is the fucking contradiction, sir.
How is that a contradiction? One has directly been shown.
Do you need me to explain myself? Do you need me to explain myself, sir? Do I need to explain how that's it's a
I'm trying to
contradiction.
explain
You're saying
myself.
in one context you think that the speech incites violence, therefore it should be punishable. In this other context, you also recognize that the speech incites violence, but you don't think it should be punishable. That's a direct
Your
contradiction.
anxiety kind of let me talk. Can I just say some words?
I would love for you to respond to the fact that I've been able to point out a direct contradiction that's clear as day.
We're trying to talk and you keep interrupting.
Go for it, man. I won't interrupt you as long as you respond to the contradiction I just able to make very clear.
Okay, so do you want me to talk directly about your contradiction now, or do you want me to talk about Harvard?
I'd love for you to talk directly about my contradiction, which involves Harvard, because you think that Harvard should punish their students for their speech because you claim that it incites violence.
Okay, so this contradiction, I understand that yes, the slur, a slur, any type of slur can cause violence. Racial slurs, yes. But we need to look at recently, right now, what do these types of protests, how do they usually turn out? How does it usually end? Because I personally, I've had friends who have gone to several universities. I'm not going to name because I know these people will find them, but they have gone to universities, a Jewish student, and they've worn a Star of David, and simply because of that, they walked past one of these protests with freedom of speech, doing nothing to nobody, and they've gotten attacked.
Hey, Forbes, why don't you tell her what this is?
Okay, so I completely disagree with profiling Israel and supporting genocide just because they're Jewish. Okay, I'll recognize it. I actually think that's wrong. However, right, so does, in my mind, a lot of the pro-Palestinian community. The majority of the pro-Palestinian community does recognize a distinction between being Jewish and being Zionist. All right. And once again, for the intents and purposes of the argument I gave you, I actually didn't contest your claim that pro-Palestinian speech leads to violence. Even though I think it's wrong, I'm still able to rebuttal the position, even if I accept it, because you don't think that other speech, which definitely incites violence, should be punishable. So why do you think only this speech that you claim incites violence should be punishable, but not the other speech, which definitely incites violence?
Okay, so I don't think the speech directly needs to be punishable, but Trump going after Harvard in
Wait,
order...
actually, I'm about to cook you. Are you ready?
Okay, sure.
Yeah, Donald Trump's speech on January 6th incited the insurrections upon the Capitol.
Okay, his January. I know you guys love that.
So he should have been punished. Really gravely.
I know you guys love that point. I know you guys love that point.
So he should have been punished gravely for that, correct?
Okay, so once again, the Palestinian movement.
No, I want you to answer what I just
very
said.
violent. What? You want to talk about the January 6th?
That Donald Trump's speech on January 6th to his followers incited riots and violence and an insurrection upon the American Capitol.
I thought we were talking about how slurs and derogatory terms.
This is a better analogy.
Okay, so we're switching up. Okay, so what part of it do you want me to talk about? How it was wrong?
His speech directly incited violence against the American Capitol. Should that speech have been punishable? Should we be able to punish Trump for inciting January 6th?
Honestly, no, because
So then why should we be able to punish pro-Palestinian protesters?
Because there's a difference between...
What's the difference?
Going to a government building and obviously they got violent. The people who did everything were in the wrong. Yes.
Right. So what's the difference?
What's the difference?
Yeah.
One is blatantly against a group. One's blatantly against the Jewish people. One's just against a government.
So pro-Palestinian movements are not blatantly anti-Semitic. I'm pro-Palestinian not because I'm anti-Semitic, not because I hate Jewish people, but because I think that ethnic cleansing is wrong. All right. I just want to clarify that the January 6th, I do just want to clarify that the January 6th like protests, riots, and insurrection was blatantly against Joe Biden and other Democrats in Congress. Right. There is a specific group being targeted on that date.
Yeah, it was a specific riot. It was a riot.
So then he should be punished for inciting that, right? He should be punished for inciting that violence.
If you guys want to try and charge him with inciting a riot, but what point did he say go and do this? And storm.
Okay, at what points did students on Harvard's campus get on a mic and publicly state that they want individuals to go and harass and be violent to Jewish individuals on campus, not because they're Zionists, but specifically because they're Jewish?
you can ask a majority of the people there who are at these types of protests, and you can go there. I've seen these in real life, and you can try. Where's Star of David even?
Can you like play me a clip from like a single like Palestinian protests where somebody on a mic straight up says, "Let's hate Jewish people because they're Jewish"?
Look up Colombia. Look what's happened there.
I want you to play it for me.
Play it for you. I don't have.
I want you to give me an example of like an accredited individual leading a pro-Palestinian movement that blatantly calls for anti-Semitism, like just straight up Jewish hate because they're Jewish.
It doesn't have to be an accredited.
Thank you so much for the Sage. I appreciate you so much for the love. Like, and I'm more so specifically at Harvard because that's the university in which you're claiming did exactly that. So give me an example of that happening at Harvard.
I'm not claiming that they directly said went against Jewish people, but I'm saying
okay. So then, according to your norms, they shouldn't be punished because you're basically saying although Donald Trump did incite January 6th because you don't believe he specifically told them to do the violence, he shouldn't be punished. Well, unless you claim that individuals at Harvard specifically told others to commit violence, they shouldn't be punished either under your view.
That's a university. They're responsible for their students at a certain point.
Wait, and you don't think that Donald Trump was responsible for his followers that he specifically called to come to the Capitol?
One is an esteemed university. One is a single individual.
What's the difference insofar as culpability for the outcome of the actions? Like, why is Harvard culpable for what their students do on the public campus? That Donald Trump wouldn't be culpable for the followers that he specifically called for his rally at the Capitol while he was president.
Okay, I want to bring up.
Respond. He was a fucking president. He was the goddamn president of America that called for a special rally in front of Congress on that date. Why would he not be responsible, but then a public campus would be responsible for what individuals do on the public campus? Tell me. So why would Trump not be responsible, but he would?
It's a private university.
Okay, I appreciate you for letting me know. So now please respond to my claim.
Okay, so Harvard, a place for education, a place where people actually go to learn. Why should they allow for these things to go on, especially when they're known to get violent?
You're not answering my question, buddy.
Okay, what's directly your question?
My question is, so why do you think that Trump wouldn't be responsible, but Harvard would?
I believe Trump would. I believe Trump, at a certain point, he is responsible for inciting the riot, yes.
Okay, so then you would agree that he should be punished.
Compared to Harvard, an esteemed university that's set for education and set for an open group of people to go. One was Trump was go to this place, have a rally. Harvard is a set destination where all the students have to be for their education, and they should be safe too. All of the students, all types.
So you don't think that the president has culpability for inciting violence against his congressmen and women?
I mean, he definitely does. He has the ability, yeah.
Okay, so the same way that Harvard has to look after their students, Trump has to look after his congressmen and women.
They are politicians, though. One is students. You're talking about students at a university versus politicians who ran and got elected.
Yeah,
how are you?
I'm comparing humans to humans. That's right.
Humans to humans. Okay, let's compare like a 5-year-old to a 30-year-old. That doesn't make sense. One is an esteemed politician who got elected.
Wait. Do you think that Harvard students are Harvard students 5 years old?
No, but a college student is a college student. A college student is a college student.
So I just want to clarify that, like, if the congressmen and women that had the rioters bring violence against them were the ages of college students, and Donald Trump would be responsible. This sounds like a really incoherent position.
I'm sorry, repeat that one more time.
So you're saying that if the congressmen and women in which had violence incited against them on January 6th were the age of college students, then Trump would be responsible?
No, it has nothing to do with age.
You just told me that had all to do with age when you pointed out that the individuals on Harvard's campuses were college students. Why can't you just admit that you have a contradiction in your view, little boy? Why can't you just admit that you have a contradiction in your view, little boy? Like apparently you think that all speech which can lead to violence should be punished, okay? But not as it applies to racial slurs and not as it applies to Donald Trump inciting the insurrection. Why do you special plea only as it relates to the victims of Donald Trump's actions, right? As long as Donald Trump is the one doing the punishing, then it's fine. But if it's Donald Trump that's being punished, then it's not fine. It kind of sounds like you're one of the many Americans that embolden his fascism. So tell me why you don't apply this standard, little boy.
Okay, so first of all, be respectful with me and quit the little boy. You're not anything. You're not tough. Quit
So
it.
I wouldn't be calling you little boy if you haven't been going in a circle about the most obvious truth known to mankind for the last 20 minutes. Okay? At least from my perception, it takes intentional and willful ignorance in order for you to not be able to recognize the point that I'm making. You think that if speech incites violence, then that speech should be punishable. Donald Trump's speech on January 6th incited violence. You don't think that should be punishable. Racial slurs incite violence. You don't think racial slurs should be punishable. Why are those two things any different than the example you think you're giving about pro-Palestinian protests?
So I've clearly stated the difference now.
What is the difference?
The difference between esteemed politicians who got elected and ran for their positions.
Wait, why does that matter if it was still Donald Trump's?
Stop interrupting,
Wait,
bro.
Why do the politicians matter when we're just merely evaluating Donald Trump's speech to see if it incited violence? Why does who the violence is incited against relevant?
Okay, can I talk now?
If you answer the question, why is the individuals in which the violence is incited against relevant?
Why? Because one is an elected individual. I'm trying to bring the point that one is an elected politician.
So if violence is incited by speech against politicians, then all of a sudden it doesn't matter. So that's what you're saying, is that it doesn't matter that Donald Trump incited violence against the Capitol on January 6th because they were elected politicians. Like, imagine, right, if we had a black elected politician that had violence incited against him, they were killed because of their race, and the fact that Nazis, listened to somebody call them an N-word. Right? And then they went and killed them. Are you saying that speech shouldn't have been punishable since the victim was an elected politician?
Buddy, can I just talk without you interrupting?
If you could respond to what I just said, yeah.
I'm trying to, and you just keep interrupting.
Go for it.
Okay, so let's be respectful. Quit the little boy stuff. Stop that. We're having a discussion.
Okay, please respond to what I just said.
Okay, so one is at a political. He got elected. Yes, dude. I understand. I'm repeating this. I keep repeating this because you keep interrupting. So one is a political candidate. He ran, he got elected. Yes, I understand that. The other one is trying to get their education. They're learning. They are meant to be on a safe campus. And when these types of protests have a pattern for becoming unsafe and becoming violent, then it is a problem.
Are congressmen and women meant to be in a safe Congress?
I mean, yes, but also there's security there. There's there for a reason. What happened to the people who broke in?
There's security at campus protests.
And stuff still happens. There's open assaults.
Like stuff still happened on January 6th. That's my point.
Okay, but what happened to the people who tried to break in?
Well, a lot of them got past the security, but some individuals were stopped by the security. Yeah.
What happened after? What happened after?
What happened after what?
They were charged. Most of them are charged, right?
Yeah, charged for their crimes against the individuals in which they victimized. However, Donald Trump was not charged for inciting those crimes against the individuals in which were victimized, and that's kind of my point, because you don't think he should. But guess what? They were literally fucking later pardoned and called patriots.
Yeah, because he got it back into office. He's going to support.
Did you support that? Do you think that Donald Trump did something wrong when he pardoned DJ Rodriguez, who tried to kill a cop by driving a stun gun into their neck and then pled guilty?
Are you talking about the January 6th?
Yeah.
I don't know the specific details on that case.
Well,
so
I just gave you the specifics. His name was DJ Rodriguez. That's a specific. He tried to kill a cop by driving a stun gun into their neck. That's a specific. He pled guilty in court into the FBI. That's a specific. And then Donald Trump pardoned him 4 years into his 12-year term. That's a specific. What more specifics would you possibly need?
The case of where?
Why? Because of the riots on January 6th, where the American Capitol win January 6, 2021.
Is there any footage? Like, was there?
Yeah,
there's
a body cam from a police officer which had the
de-escalate any part of that.
There was no de-escalation from the officer to DJ Rodriguez, because DJ Rodriguez walked up to the officer and quickly drove the stun gun into their neck before they could react.
Okay, so he was blatantly assaulted.
Right. And then Donald Trump pardoned them.
Okay, I'll agree with you that the pardoning is not right. But what do you think about the pardons Biden gave out? The plethora of them.
To who?
I don't know the specifics, but there was criminals.
Didn't
there.
you just tell me that you couldn't respond even though it gave you the hyper specifics of the individuals' names and what they did and how they pled guilty and how far they were into their term? But then you expect me to be able to give you a response to your claim about Biden's pardons when you can't give me any specifics at all?
I'm sorry, this isn't my full-time job. My bad.
Okay, well, then I can't just, what about Biden's pardons? Okay, what? What about them? Give me the specifics.
You agree with them in the general?
Yes, I agreed with his general pardons because 8,000 of them applied to individuals in which were incarcerated for the use of the MDRUG.
What is that? I'm sorry.
MDRUG?
Yes.
M space DRUG. The M drug?
Oh, yeah.
Getting
Okay.
elevated?
Yes, thank you. I needed that explained. My bad. Okay.
So yeah, I agreed with him. I thought they were great. No response?
Sorry, 1 second. I'm trying to still figure out what that even means. I don't know what an MDR are you talking about?
Getting elevated, man?
Oh, okay. Yeah, that clicked.
The devil's favorite produce?
Devil's lettuce. All right, got it. What about it?
You asked me how I felt about his pardons in general. Okay, well, 8,000 of his pardons accounted for that, so I feel pretty good.
Okay, what about the rest of them?
What are the rest? You have to give me the specifics.
His son.
His son? He pardoned. That was great.
The cocaine addict? Drug user? Really?
So, A, fucking hell, he had no crimes on his records related to the use of substances. Now I got to kick you. And then B, he gave him a pardon alongside with other members of the family because Donald Trump has been saying for the last 6 years that he was going to politically attack them. God, a dad would do that. A bad dad. Like if he didn't preemptively pardon his family, he'd be right? Because Donald Trump has spent the last 8 years saying that he's going to up. That was a great idea what's going on, Donald Trump?
Yeah, just
okay. Before we hop into turn off the background audio.
Side by side, your life and my life.
I had to mute you because you got like a radio going, you got a TV going. Just shut all that off and then let's have a conversation. And while you're doing that, I'd really like to thank Veteran for the $100 super chat over on the YouTube stream. Holy shit. Veteran says, you never disappoint this boomer by providing the smallest glimmer of hope in every in a dark time for America. Veteran, I love you. Welcome back to the stream. Huge shout out, Veteran. And this was a while ago, but I'm so sorry. But Sid, thank you for the $100 super chat as well, saying that I'm cooking today. Holy shit, Sid. Thank you so much. And Veteran, let's show hella love to Veteran and Sid down below in that chat. I really appreciate both of you for the for the $100 super chats. It's so incredibly kind of y'all. As well as Jay for another $21 super chat on YouTube saying, damn, you're breaking me, man. I added $1 extra this time, but you're so worth it. The education alone is worth my time and money. That's so kind of you, Jay. Please show some love to Sid, Jay, and Veteran down below. As well as R. Thank you for the $50 donation over on PayPal, R. R says donation. Don't mention my name in your stream. I don't want crazies after me. I'm not going to lie. I didn't read that, but I did only call you by R, so I think everything is good. But let's just get 500 W's for $10 over on PayPal. Thank you so much. Holy shit.
And then Cameron with a $15 donation over on PayPal.
As well as Aline, thank you for the $10 over on PayPal. Thank you so much. And then Cameron with a $15 donation over on PayPal. Reminder to bring you up. Okay, I'm looking for you after this. I apologize that I forgot. As well as TIPP with a $5 on Venmo. And then, oh my god,
Venmo donation and Sid with a $75 Venmo donation.
Brianna with a $100 Venmo donation and Sid with a $75 donation. I want to get 1,000 Brianna W's. That is BRIA. Sid with a 70. Well, holy fuck, dude. Just drops a coffee cup and Sid says, hi, say, but you're cooking today. Hope you're well. I hope you're well, Sid. I love you so much. Shout out to Bree and Sid in that chat right now. My God, I don't deserve that. But Donald, take it away. Tell us why you support Trump.
More for the economy, President
Donald Trump because of his border policy and that he has done more than the last president, and the fact that he has done more for safety locally and over.
Boom, you said he did more for the economy than the last take a look at a graph. Quite frankly, here's investment into American manufacturing. This is coming from the Federal Reserve Bank of St. Louis. Under the Biden-Harris administration, we saw that went boom, kablooey, and then when Donald Trump won the election and was inaugurated, it went stagnant. How can you say he's doing more for the economy when he's literally stagnated economic growth insofar as investment in American manufacturing?
That Joe Biden let not for the fact that we also have Apple and a lot of companies coming back into the United States that Joe Biden let not come back into the United States due to his insanely poor border policy and the fact that he let us into a 4.1 deficit after he left office that we are now having to fix thanks to that policy.
Okay, well, first of all, Donald Trump is not fixing any deficit.
Actually, you're wrong. There's actually going to be 30 trillion,
going to be
not
$3.8 trillion added.
So you're wrong. There's actually going to be 3 trillion, not 3 trillion. But we're also going to have benefits because of the no tax on tips.
You just made that
no
bill
tax
10 times
on
worse.
overtime, and no tax on Social Security. But we're also going to have benefits because of the no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, and no tax on Social Security.
I can't remember well, actually, the center. Budget and policy priorities let me get up the source. I can't remember the source for the life of me. The Center on Budget and Policy Priorities would indicate that the bottom 80% of income earners in America are actually going to have a after-tax income because of Donald Trump's big, beautiful bill. So he's basically spending $30 trillion, according to reduce the after-tax income for the bottom 80% of Americans. That has to be like one of the worst economic policies ever passed.
You're also not realizing that you're not saying is the bill's not going to come in place until 2028.
But when it does impact $30 trillion on a bill now that won't impact America for 4 years, but when it does impact America, it's going to reduce the after-tax income for 80%. That has to seriously be one of the worst economic fucking policies I've ever heard of.
Like Biden has been doing for the past 4 years, something when you instead of sitting there not doing anything when he has done nothing. Like Biden has been doing for the past 4 years, when you claimed that he can actually be doing something when he has done nothing.
Arguably doing nothing is better than $30 trillion to make 80% of Trump policy. Poorer.
Off of Trump policy? Name one.
Okay. Well, the stock market crashed by 7%.
Who's gotten poor off of the
but then it also
Trump policy?
Because Trump policy, the stock market, well, the stock market crashed by 7% because of his tariffs.
Because of a new
I
president.
mean, a lot of people,
but then it also went back up because the stock market was in a momentary lapse because of a new president and coming into office. Always do that. They've done that for the past
Any president comes
decade.
into office, so
the
it
stock
just
market
like
gets
happened to
affected
happen on the
because of
same
it.
days he introduced and repealed the policy.
Not true. Looking at
Any president that comes into office, the stock market gets affected because of it.
Actually, not true. Looking at Biden's term,
Bush had it happen. Obama had it happen. Clinton had it happen.
Obama went into office at the start of the 2008
majorly, but it dipped 2%. And it also got affected. It dipped not majorly, but it dipped 2%.
So we've actually typically in the last 3 presidencies only seen economic growth following the beginning of the president's term. It's only under Donald Trump's second term that we saw that market collapse. But once again, do you just think that it's a complete coincidence that the markets
No, but it was expected
7% on like Liberation Day?
Okay, so
April 2nd?
if that wasn't
Is
a
that just a complete coincidence
it was
then?
caused by Liberation Day, right?
No, but it was expected.
Okay, so if that wasn't a complete coincidence, it means it was caused by Liberation Day, right?
Okay, well, why didn't it happen on like April 1st?
It was expected because, like I just said, every president has that happen to them.
Okay, well, why didn't it happen on like April 1st?
Why didn't it happen on January 1st when Biden got into office?
Any point in March, any point in February, any point in January after the 21st.
When Biden got into office, and then it went right after that, and then dipped 4 points.
You know, man, appreciate you for coming up. You win.
You know what, man? Appreciate you for coming up. You win. I lose. Have a good one. Take
We're
care.
gonna go to move on to the next guest.
We're gonna go to move on to the next guest. If you're in that queue, make sure that means that you support Trump. Let's gonna get that next guest up in here. We got Ash loading into the live. We got Chrome loading up right now. And then Dust. Oh my God! Thank you for the $200 super chat on YouTube. What the fuck, Dust? Dust says, "I love how you don't let them get away with any baseless claims." Oh fuck! What a terrible time to read off that donation.
and they said she was perfectly healthy and she's due for her shots like in a month. So she's already got her first round of shots. So it was good. Where is she?
Let me. Let me know if you want a refund, man. I'll give it to you. I'll give you one. Let me know if you want your $200 back. I will happily refund that one to you straight your way. I definitely. I'm sorry, I couldn't take it. I'm sorry, Dust. I take it. I couldn't take it. I'm sorry for letting. Thank you for the $200, Dust. That was you. Let's get 2,000 Dust W's. That's seriously a shit ton of money. If you Dust, as well as Brianna, $40 on YouTube Super Chat saying Brianna's Breeze that popped off today, so I had to join. But thank you for doing what I couldn't, debating MAGA fools. 10 out of 10. Thank you, Brianna. That's so kind of you. And what's going on, Cookie? Do you support Trump? Cookie Walton, hello.
Sorry, I didn't mean to request.
No worries. Have a good rest of your day, Cookie. We're going to move on to the next guest. Here we go, everybody. Let's go and get that next guest up in the live. If you're one of the 6.4 thousand people watching live, make sure that you're double tapping. Justin, why are you always fucking driving?
No, I'm not driving. It was just the background.
You just
We're
got
good
out.
now. I turned it off.
Okay, I
Yes,
brought you up 3 times in the last 2 days. Every single time I brought you up, I've had to immediately kick you because you're driving. Like, do you drive for work?
No, not really. Well, yeah, 7:30 to 5, but you get me at the worst time. So.
All right. Yeah. So you're MAGA. We already know that. In fact, I've actually seen you talking shit in that comment section.
That's all.
Okay. So do you support Trump?
I do.
Okay. Right. Why is that?
I think his border policies are actually pretty good, and I also think we had a couple of downs, especially with the stock market, things like that you were just talking about.
Oh yeah, wait 1 second. Who's the guest that I forgot? Hey man, if you're the guest, Cameron with another $15 on PayPal right now. Reminding you to bring me up again. Please let at LMAFOCR. Yeah, I'll invite you right now. Just spam chat until I see it, but take it away. Take it away, Justin. Sorry for interrupting.
Oh, okay. So in general, I just think that in terms of policy, it's just slightly better when it comes to like economic growth and things like that. When it comes to, let's just say, for example, like obviously the border policy with the obviously having stricter borders, I just think with the being able to do that with the times that we're at now, especially where it's like becoming more, I guess, like especially with inflation and things like that rising. I'll just give you like a perfect example. Like just say if someone goes, I guess, across the border, let's just say gets injured or something like that, and they're obviously not legal, where does that money go, especially if someone's getting injured? And I just think that costs tons of money.
Oh, but you're basically saying that immigrants drain resources from Americans, right?
Pretty much, yep.
Okay. Then also CR, you're not in the queue. I do see you in the chat. Just join the guest request and I'll let you up. But right now you are not in the guest request. So anyways, Mr. Justin. So what you said is actually false. Undocumented migrants pay $100 billion per year in federal, state, and local taxes. So unironically, they actually help subsidize funding to then be citizens that they don't have access to, benefits like Medicaid, Medicare, and Social Security. Not to mention the fact that they also add $300 billion to the American GDP per year and strengthen the American labor force. So it's crazy, but undocumented migrants actually benefit from it.
Yeah, so then what happens to the people that actually, let's just say, come in illegally and then actually do, let's just say, break a leg or something like that, and then they have to go to the hospital or something like that?
They go to the ER. If they don't have health insurance, then Medicare pays from it from the federal expenditure. Medicare expenses around $17 billion uninsured people in American emergency rooms. Only a fraction of those are undocumented migrants, but if we assume all of those are undocumented migrants, guess what? They still pay 5 times more in than they take out.
Understandable, but when it comes to, situations where, let's just say, actually, you know what? You got a point, but I'm just saying more realistically, when it comes to them helping us, I get that they do, but when it comes to a point, especially when it comes to crime and things like that,
they're actually 2 times less likely than natural U.S.-born citizens to commit violent crimes, so they reduce per capita crime rates. In CR, I don't see you in the queue.
Can I answer it this way? My attraction doesn't stop with trans people. I'm not attracted to trans.
All right, well, besides that, in terms of just inflation and things like that going on now, when there's, especially when it comes to things like crime and just like, I get that it does, but I don't know if that, whatever stat you want to pull up and show that, but.
So then what's your claim? Because, I debunked the one about the economy, debunked the one about crime. What's next?
Oh, you're good. Don't worry. Appreciate you.
Well, overall, I don't know what's. I just need something to debate off of. Like, I guess I don't agree with that because they both.
What you should debate off of is why you support the president.
At the end of the day, they do, especially if they do get injured or something like that when they come across. It definitely doesn't benefit us. There's no denying that.
Well, it actually benefits us more to have them work in the country and pay $100 billion.
I get that, but it's you're not answering my. Like, I understand that they benefit us that way, but when it comes
to, you're basically saying we should just look at the benefits they get in a vacuum, and it doesn't matter if what they put in is more than what they put out. If they take out anything, then that's bad. So
we can't ignore the fact.
So do you think that we should? Yeah. So American education systems for American children cost billions and billions and billions of dollars from taxpayers per year. We should just get rid of that because we should ignore the ROI of a more educated labor.
While taking a shower, a man noticed.
Right. We dismantle all public education because it costs money.
No, but the whole thing is.
Wait, why? But it costs money. Isn't that your argument about undocumented migrants and access to emergency rooms? Oh, it costs money. It doesn't matter if there's
Well, we shouldn't ignore it either. But you're acting like that should be ignored.
I am acting like it should be ignored. Why the fuck would we care if they cost some money if they only give our government?
It's her, and then you have to pay for it realistically because it comes out of tax dollars and come out of just money doesn't come on from a printer,
For every dollar that is expensed on the access to American emergency rooms by undocumented migrants, they pay $5 to $7 in.
The AHP initiative is just what it is. It's an affordable housing initiative that is doing exactly what it says it's doing. And I have found.
Would you be okay with our government making an investment of $1 for $7 return?
The studio that I was going to be getting to film.
Sure, I mean it depends
then
on.
you're okay with the American government paying for access to emergency rooms for undocumented immigrants?
You have to do it legally, unfortunately, because you're
So
in
now
a
you're just
situation.
completely shifting your argument. Because remember, you're the one that came up here arguing a position about how undocumented immigrants hurt the American economy, but now you're just arguing the position that, well, they don't hurt the economy, but they still got to come in legally. Okay, argue it, but then it just requires. So what is the position that you're trying to argue?
But I'm saying we should, at this point where it's becoming where we're trying to save money, especially when it comes to the United States, that we need to, obviously have stronger borders. That's just my whole.
Bruh, listen to me like so closely.
And start to check.
Yeah.
One suit gives itself.
They may take some.
Thinking it can remove
Okay.
threat, but it's just a
It's not just that,
But
yeah.
they pay more money than they take away.
swiftly killing just when you
Emergency rooms only expense around $17 billion per year for uninsured people. Only a fraction of those are undocumented immigrants. So maybe $1 billion annually for access to emergency rooms for undocumented immigrants. Undocumented pay $100 but they pay $100 billion in taxes. So you're so basically what you're saying is that we should is that we should lose. Listen to what you're saying. You're saying that we should lose $100 billion per year to gain $1 billion per year. Basic math will tell you that's a bad idea.
Yes, they're whatever if they're benefiting, they're sending all this money into the United States. Whatever, they're working. I get it, but they're not paying them. Doing anything else.
They do. In fact, they pay more taxes than citizens because they don't get a return for their W-2.
Taxes? They have no social security.
Yeah, because you don't need an SSN to pay taxes. You could get an ITIN to pay taxes, and that's exactly what undocumented migrants do.
Basically, what's happened on this page.
Of course, but the thing when it comes to they're paying like other things. Let's just say when it comes to social security, things like that. That where is that? They're not paying that.
They are. Yes.
Absolutely not.
They do. I'm like, this is my source is the IRS. You understand that, right? Like when I say that undocumented immigrants pay $100 billion per year in taxes on the federal, state, and local level, like that's coming straight from the IRS, the Internal Revenue Service.
a power he does not. It's a
So the IRS is going to find someone who's illegally working currently in some sort of business that, which currently happening now. There's businesses
Yes, the
where
IRS knows about millions
they
of
do not know
undocumented
that.
workers.
Absolutely not. You have no idea.
So then how come Donald Trump went to them and requested their records of undocumented immigrants working and paying taxes in America?
The person doesn't have to admit to anything. They can say they have nobody working for them. What do you mean? They can easily find someone on the street and be like, hey, come work for me. And then they won't pay their taxes that way. They just get paid on the side.
So can you refer? So do you agree that undocumented immigrants pay $100 billion per year in taxes through ITINs and sales tax? Yes or no?
I don't know. I haven't seen that stat, but sure, if that's what you.
Okay, so then what are we debating?
All right, let me just find a place to pull over.
You're trying to convince me that undocumented immigrants don't pay taxes. Do you have a source?
Create a better economy, and I think by starting by
Hey, sir, do you have a source that would indicate that undocumented migrants pay anything but $100 billion annually in taxes?
You have a source saying that they don't pay taxes. You're saying?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just more of me realistically seeing it in the real world. I'm in the real world, so I know.
How? Okay, I live in the real world.
Hire people, and they don't.
I've never seen anything.
Not documented. I've seen it.
I've never seen anything with my eyes that would tell me that undocumented immigrants don't pay taxes in America.
Maybe you should leave him.
That's a pretty absurd claim. How could you see that? How can your like experiences indicate to you that undocumented immigrants don't pay taxes in America? It's really absurd there, little bro.
Because I've seen it when it comes to businesses.
How can you see that?
There are people who on the street are looking for work. They get hired or whatever it may be. They'll work for the day.
Yeah, have you ever seen? Have you ever seen a citizen?
Seen it all day, man.
Have you ever seen a citizen work under the table and not pay taxes?
Have you seen a citizen not pay taxes? I mean, I'm sure there's like a lot of loopholes when it comes to.
No, just like work under the table. They're not filing a W-2. They're working under the table for cash. Have you ever seen that?
Always, yeah.
So this must mean that no citizen pays taxes, right?
Why would I say no? No, that's just some people that do it that way. I didn't say all people do
that.
So
I like how you go from just being.
I'm not saying all immigrants do it. I'm saying that doesn't help. That's what I'm saying. It doesn't help us. It doesn't benefit. I think that 100% of citizens don't pay taxes. That's just,
you're making my
stupid.
point for me. Not 100% of undocumented immigrants pay taxes, just like not 100% of citizens pay taxes.
On the very first night, Jack and his
my point is that it's the reason why you want the strong border, things like that. It's going to help us benefit the economy a little bit better. It's going to aid in helping. It's not going to make it worse. That's the whole thing.
Bro, how do undocumented migrants? Tell me how undocumented. Tell me one way that undocumented migrants met.
But they hurt by not paying the taxes. That's another thing. And they hurt us by also coming.
Justin, I'm gonna need you to respond. I'm gonna need you to listen to me. Undocumented immigrants pay more in taxes than they reap in benefits. They don't have access to Social Security.
I understand that completely.
So then, where's our issue?
That it's still.
Where does our issue lie? Because you're saying that removing undocumented immigrants from America would help the American economy because they don't pay taxes. So this would indicate that you think, in totality, undocumented immigrants get more in benefits than they pay in taxes. So if we were to deport them all, it'd save our government money. Okay, but what I'm saying, and for whatever reason you just agreed to, I don't know if you know that, is that undocumented migrants pay more in taxes than they receive in benefits, which means if our government will actually have less money.
I never said deport them all. That's not my goal here. We need stricter policies.
What the hell? What the fuck is going? Does anybody know what's going on? Can you guys tell me if I'm just completely delusional for thinking this guy's making no goddamn sense? So
I don't see why.
So listen. So Justin, your point is that undocumented immigrants don't pay taxes, right?
Yes, they don't pay taxes.
Okay.
Not all of them.
So your point is wrong.
Maybe a
because
percentage.
Undocumented immigrants pay $100 billion per year in taxes.
But you're not. See, you're ignoring that. Yes, most of them can. Of course, they can pay their taxes, but there's still a
Right.
percentage of them that don't. I don't understand why we're not understanding that.
There's a percentage
Why
of
is that not
undocumented.
clicking?
I'm gonna get back to this just 1 second, but hi Cole, how are you? I'm having issues with not
However,
seeing
when we look at
requests.
undocumented
I
immigrants
have
as
to
a
like physically
demographic,
request you.
they help the economy.
So I don't know if you can see them, but I want you to.
There's a percentage of everybody that doesn't
I
have
think Monica, are you in here? Make yourself
including the
known.
president.
Oh, we don't
I was
have
just trying to
exact
request, but when
percentages,
I
but I
opened
get
it, it
what
went
you're saying,
away.
yeah.
So I'm not
That's
really
what
So
sure.
what's your
like, I
point?
literally
Should
went
we
to
also
click
be
accept
deporting all
and I
citizens
try
because
to
there's a
invite
percentage
and
of
then I try to
citizens that don't pay
invite you.
taxes?
Well, you need to attack things, little by little.
Others
You're
to
trying
go
to,
with it.
obviously help the economy and
I'll take
lower
a
inflation,
spot.
things like that. And I think that's a good way to approach it. I mean, that's a one step to it. I'm not saying deport everybody. I'm saying,
what
to
fuck?
reduce problems when it comes to debt and spending. That's the way to.
Immigrants, like you're going to be deporting like
Let's see,
a
did I
portion
disappear
of
for
the
a second?
overall demographic when the overall demographic pays
All right, you
taxes
guys,
on
let's
average.
do the
So the
next.
average undocumented immigrant that
while
you're
we
going to
wait
be
for him,
deporting
I know we
pays
did the flash
taxes,
sale on
contributes to
the.
100
what's
billion.
the percentage that Americans pay taxes versus?
Oh,
I disappeared
hey,
for a second?
Dustin,
Yes.
I am like
My
around
bad.
30 seconds from just
We're gonna do
completely
a flash
losing my
sale on
cool because I think that
soon.
you're an idiot. So I think that you could prevent the likelihood of me losing my cool by like not interrupting you, right? Because like I could talk to idiots, but I can't talk to idiots that like interrupt me every 5 seconds. I'm just trying to be honest and upfront with you.
Yeah, I have
No,
a
you're
really good
cool. I get it.
circle of
You can
close
continue.
friends,
So listen to this.
and I have my
Right
brother.
now, undocumented demographic pay $100 billion
My
per year
brother
taxes.
is my rock.
If we
I love
start a petition, Congress says $175 billion.
Of course, I'll always be
We're
your
already
friend, Daisy.
170%
I
of
met you
agreement.
in early 90s.
It's the opportunity
I was
cost.
wild back
This
then.
mass deportation, immigrants are sent out of the. We spend $175 billion in upfront costs plus $1 per year annual of the money that we're losing out on because we deported these taxpayers. What's not clicking in your brain? We lose money with mass deportation. Where am I going wrong?
I'm not disagreeing with. I don't want mass deportation. That's not my goal.
So what is Trump doing?
That's what I'm trying to lose.
Is Donald Trump doing a mass deportation?
Do you find it hard to trust
He's
people?
He's not getting everybody in sight because there's still people here. What are you talking about?
Trust no one.
So it's not happening at all because there's still undocumented immigrants here.
Of course, it's happening. It's not happening at a major mass rate that everybody's thinking it is.
So even at the rate that it's happening right now, it is still hurting the American economy.
Is it hurt the economy that we're not deporting them?
That we are deporting.
I just got my sleep token tattoo.
Is it hurt? It's not. Nor it's right now. If we were to deport them, depending on what the situation is, it could either. It really depends.
It definitely hurts, okay? Because we've already removed hundreds of thousands of American laborers from the labor force. We've already removed hundreds of taxpayers from the overall taxpaying pool.
Bye, sweetheart.
That hurts the economy.
Thanks for dropping in, love bug.
Well, the unemployment rate's at 1.4%, and it hasn't changed. So what? How do you explain
How are
that?
you, baby girl?
How is the unemployment rate calculated?
Tried Canoga Park in Chatsworth in the late 80s. Oh, listen, Canoga Park.
It's just something that I saw that it was 1.4%.
Okay,
Hasn't
first of all,
changed.
that's not true. But the unemployment rate is calculated by taking those that are able to work that aren't working and dividing it by by the total amount of people that are able to work.
You're saying they're paying taxes and they're also not accounting for the undocumented.
When you deport an immigrant, they're no longer able to work, so they're no longer factored into the unemployment.
That would be weird. For me, Rocky Roads, yes. She's a lovely girl.
Okay, so undocumented immigrants that are currently working don't get accounted for that 1.4%.
No, they do because they're
in
able
here.
to work in there in America.
They don't because they're not
Stop
documented.
getting a
Brittany Andrews is still working.
No social security. So how is that possibly getting
God
documented
bless
in that
Brittany.
percent? It's not.
because
God
they
bless
work on
her.
a W-2
I
through
got her in the
ITIN.
industry.
What does
so-
ITIN stand
You
for?
I was
you
a bad
realize you
influence,
don't.
but
What is an
Listen,
ITIN?
They just
stand-
work.
Hey,
They get
hey,
hired. They
Hey,
work.
hey, what does an ITIN stand for?
it's not for me anymore.
I don't know what it
conquered
stands for.
already.
Individual taxpayer
Do I know Michelle
identification
Manhart? I
number.
don't, baby. I don't.
They don't all get that. Why is that so hard to understand?
Hey, Justin, how many
They don't
continents
all
are there?
get that. They don't go through that system. They
You're
don't all
saying
go
you're
through that
saying that
system.
not you're oh my god you're saying that none of them you
It's
can't
just,
identify a single undocumented
and no
immigrant.
hate to the
You're
girls that
saying
do
that
it. Listen,
no
I'm all for
undocumented
it.
immigrants get an
I'm
ITIN.
just I'm beyond
You're
that
saying that
now.
you
It's
can't
not-
identify
it's
a
not my
single
thing.
undocumented immigrant with an ITIN.
The industry was your bitch. That's facts. That is facts. I owned it. I
can't
did
tell
know
if I'm
Lori
muted or not. Did
Michaels.
you
I
mute me?
met her. I wasn't
How many
like, really
continents are
close
there?
with her or anything, but I met her. She was
7.
cool.
Name them.
Hello.
Australia, United
Somebody said,
States,
can I get a
Yeah.
hi?
England.
Get the
Hi,
yeah,
I
yeah.
am
Really? Yeah, get
DO821.
I'm not gonna
What cars do you drive nowadays? I
I
don't
just-
really sing what I
Yeah,
drive.
wasting my time. Where
have you been?
We're gonna just get the next guest up on the screen.
Yeah, I'm a passenger princess. That's so hot. Oh my god!
Wow.
Have I ever met Celine Dion?
Wow,
I
what
have
a
not
pitiful
met her.
world we
She's
live
not like the kind of
Hello,
like
19.
what year were you
goes
born in?
to like after parties and stuff.
Listen.
Not
Never
19,
met
not
her.
19. Moving on.
No,
Oh,
I
Ciara's
don't
finally
talk
in
to
the queue. Let's
Farrah
get Ciara up
anymore.
here. I just saw you in the
She
queue.
kinda
Let's try to get
moved
Ciara
on.
up here. I literally
Yes,
just saw you. Did you
I
leave?
still have the heartbreaker tattoo.
What the heck, Ciara? You were in the queue for like a second, and now you're gone. Oh, there you are.
Yeah,
Let's
some
get Ciara up here.
weirdo.
I'd also like to thank Shelby. Thank you so much for the $5 over on Venmo. KITA, thank you for the $10 over on Venmo. Saying thanks for appreciate you for the love.
that stuff
Brandon with another $5 on Venmo, and then Lucas. Thank you so much for the $10 on Venmo. Let's get 100 Lucas W's. Bianca with the $2 and Luna with the $5. Thank you guys so much for the love over on Venmo. I'd also like to thank. Let's see here. Aaliyah for the $10 over on YouTube Super Chat. That is incredibly kind of you. Brian, thank you for the $10 over on YouTube Super Chat. And Brianne with a 5. Thank you guys. We got CR loading into the live right now, y'all. If you are MAGA and you would like to come up for a debate, let me know down below in that channel. I'll get you up here. CR is loading in. That's really unfortunate. I know that he donated a lot of money to be able to get up here, so I really hope that he's able to load in. What's up, Sloppy? How old are you?
12.
If the money was crazy.
Let's go move on to the next guest. Guys, if you're in that queue, make sure that you're MAGA. Y'all, we are just looking for some Trump supporters to have some conversations with. Dean, it's not me, bro. And how back? But I definitely got a CR loading into the live video profile picture. Maybe it just glitched out or something. Let's try to get that next guest up in the box, y'all. Let me know down below in that chat if you're MAGA. We are really trying to get CR up on the live. I guess CR up in that queue for me. I'm gonna really try to get you up here. Yo, what's going on, Jay? How old are you?
Yeah, it's not worth it to me.
19.
You look very young. You
How
look
long
great.
do you expect me to believe
Honey
that
Bear. I appreciate that.
Can you just debate me? Can you just debate?
Sorry, man.
What's
I'll
up
wait
for the
until you're actually
weekend?
19.
Chill.
Or like 18 at the least.
Chill.
Let's go to move on to the next
Just
guest.
relaxing.
Yo, we got Matt loading in.
My girl
We got Matt
is
loading in.
off for a couple days, and we're just
For whatever
gonna
reason, here it says that you're not available. I don't know why it says that. What's up, B? How old are you?
Loved your work. Well, thank you.
Dean, this is I'm on my wife's account right
Nice. Do you support Trump?
No, I've been trying to reach Parker
It's all
individually via
relative
certain DMs.
when
My
it
partner and
comes
I
to
both.
peace, because
I'm sorry for
everybody
kicking you,
is
man.
living
The only
a
reason I
different
kicked you is because
timeline.
you didn't vote for
So,
Trump and you had an echo on your mic. I felt really
for
bad. I felt
me-
really bad doing that, but it had to be done. I'm really sorry, dude. Please just show some love to them for being a liberal. Show them love in any way that you can. I feel really bad when I do that.
reassess
What's going on?
situations.
Diddy?
Because I'm about
Yeah,
to.
what's up?
Why is your name
So,
Diddy Dave?
Once I
Bro,
do
it's
that,
my
I
name, bruh.
to kind of
How
go
old are
about
you?
life again.
I'm 19.
I isolated while I was in
What year
grief.
were you
That's
Do you
right.
believe me
Yeah,
or
I mean, for me, I just really
What
need
year
to
were you born
like
in?
go over
Diddy
everything
Dave?
in my head.
2005?
And
4th of July.
Why pick Diddy
the
Dave?
people you are no
Bro,
longer
I do not know, bro. It's
Do
just funny,
you
bruh.
think that you kind of
I just wanted to ask you
For me,
something about
it's important to cut people out of my life.
about
I'm not one of those people that
Islam
believe
and
in
Europe. What's your
endless
opinion on
forgiveness.
that?
You're not even here to debate. Moving on to the next
So,
guest. We're gonna get that next
like,
guest.
once you
Chris
do
up in the
me
box.
dirty,
Everyone, just give us a minute, y'all.
clip,
Do be patient.
done.
Do be patient, everyone. Give us a minute
Thank
to
you,
get Chris up in the
Mega.
box. Go ahead and drop a MAGA down below in that
Meg.
comment section if you would like to come up and debate, y'all.
What did you to your career? Oh,
What's going on? Do you
Hello?
support Trump?
career in adult.
Yes.
All right, why?
Nick Fuentes beat you in a debate.
Terrible.
Got anxiety
I
pin,
just knew
buddy.
I'd be good
Yeah,
at
Nick
it.
Fuentes got cooked.
No, he
I
didn't.
am a
1 point.
highly
I didn't just
sexual
absolutely
woman,
destroy him.
and I'm a good actress.
Come on, bro. You know Nick
And
beat
I
you.
thought
Oh,
the
if he did, you'd be
industry
able to name like
was in
1
need
point
of
out of our 2-hour
somebody
debate
who
that
was
he didn't
capable of that
absolutely get
and
roasted
was,
on.
Bro, Nick
not
beat you.
only
Come on, dude.
aesthetically pleasing,
Nobody
but had
gives you any credence
substance.
since you can't name one thing
So
he didn't get beat on. Do you understand? Do you understand the
I
words that are
went
coming out
after
of my
it,
mouth? We've
and
done this circle 3
whenever
times.
I put my mind to
If you beat
something,
me in a
I
debate,
conquer it.
you'd be
So,
able to name 1 point he beat me on.
oh, Felicia,
Oh, he's smarter though.
that's so cool.
Are you a Nazi?
I love it, Felicia Unfiltered.
I'm not gonna
Let's
say that
go.
on the live.
My piece will be
So you
starting
are.
new after 27 year
I'm not saying that.
relationship.
I'm not saying I am.
Wow, boil the kettle.
Well,
You are going to
Nick
have
Fuentes
a
is.
great,
Nick Fuentes isn't a Nazi.
beautiful time. So I'm
By
sending
any
all
definition,
the
he
good
is a
vibes.
neo-Nazi. Yes, by any definition.
The goat, I love
Nah.
you. I look familiar.
Define neo-Nazi.
Right on.
I don't know, bro.
Worst scene
You
I
don't
ever
have jack
did.
shit, Colin. What do you know? Do you know that like you're
I
alive?
mean,
Yeah,
God, I
course.
can't really
Got it.
talk about that kind of stuff on here.
Moving on.
People. Oh, Elliot,
We're gonna
what's
move on to our
up,
next
girl?
guest, James. Everybody, just give us a minute.
That was so sweet. Thank you so much.
Everyone, just give us a minute. Be patient while we get the next guest up in here. Go ahead and drop a MAGA down below in that chat if you'd like to come up and debate, y'all. We are just looking for the next Trump supporter to bring on the live. To bring on the live, quite frankly.
And just talk about all the nitty gritty stuff. That would be fun.
Everybody, just give us a minute, y'all.
Oh my God.
Where are they at? The
how
Trump
pretty
supporters
that
are
one is.
running scared today. Let me tell you.
Aw.
Let me tell you.
So it was all an
They're running
act.
very terrified today. It's kind of their thing. It's kind of their
Are you talking about like the scenes?
Hello.
That
Do you
was
support
acting,
Trump?
pure acting.
Oh shit! I didn't even mean to join.
Adult
Low
movies
key,
are.
I'm in the bathtub, bro. I'm sorry, bro.
Bro,
Yeah,
go tub
don't
it up.
ever
Have a good time, man.
any girl
Get squeaky
ever
clean,
tells
Mr.
you
King.
that
Get
it's
squeaky
real,
clean, Mr.
she's
King.
lying.
Let's go ahead and move on to the
To
next
make
guest
money.
right now, y'all. Yo, Just, thank you for the $100 over on YouTube Super Chat. Just says, "Holy shit, I don't blame you for skipping these people at all. How do they graduate high school?"
To move
Beats me.
like
Thank you for the $100 donation, Dust. By the way, I will say this: if you are watching on YouTube and you would like to support me, I would recommend you first.
there's no way you can
support me on Venmo
concentrate
and
enough
PayPal. The only reason why I
to
say
enjoy
that is because
yourself.
YouTube takes like 30
So,
to 60% of all proceeds on Super Chat.
there you go.
But I do really appreciate it so much.
Thanks,
Please show some love to Dust down below in the
Thanks.
chat. That is so incredibly kind of you.
Thank you.
As well as Alyssa,
Oh my
thank you for the
God, so
$20 on Venmo
pretty.
3 minutes ago. Said
Nomi, look
my
at
dad just said nobody
you.
beats
That
this guy.
is so
They just come up
cool.
and he knocks them all out.
Did
You
you
know, that's
ever
what we
go to the
strive
Haunted
for. We strive for that
Mansion
perfect
and get
record.
What?
I don't really think that we've I think that we've been upholding that perfect
Hang
record
on,
pretty cleanly. I don't know.
in the
what
middle of
got beat,
something.
I guess. Thank you for the love, Alyssa. That's very kind of you. As well as Christian. Christian with the $300 donation on PayPal. Holy shit. Dude, Christian, my man. Christian says, "Thank you for supporting gay rights. You were featured on Norwegian news today as debating is taking off in Norway, and they showed you and right-wingers as examples. You explained Trump's felonies and advocated for gay rights in the clips. Thank you." Holy shit, Christian. That is the coolest thing ever. Are you kidding me? I made it all the way to Norway. That is sick. That is so cool. That is so Christian. That's so cool, Christian. But thank you so much for the love, man. And I really hope that you're doing well, Christian. It's been a while since we've caught up. Let's get 3,000 Christian W's down below in the chat. That is very, very kind. What's going on, new guest? How old are you?
I'm 18.
Nice. What year are you born in?
2007.
Perfect. Do you support Trump?
Yes, I do.
Oh my God. Why would you ever support such a train wreck?
All right, whatever. I haven't been able to vote yet, but I just have a question for you. So, would you say that the BLM movement was a good or bad political movement?
It was a good political movement.
Okay, so why are teachers from my school allowed to have BLM flags in their classroom?
Why are they allowed to have BLM flags in their classroom?
Correct.
I mean, do you want are you asking for like the literal answer insofar as why they're allowed to fly them?
Because my school has a direct.
I mean, I'd assume that maybe that's going to be protected under the First Amendment, and if it's not protected under the First Amendment, it's probably just going to be a policy of the school district.
Right. Well, the school district has a policy that says political movements aren't allowed to be in the classroom.
Okay. Well, they probably just don't define BLM as a political movement, right? And
how would it not be?
Because I don't think that human rights should be political.
How is it a human right?
how is like the right to live regardless of your race a human right?
That has nothing to do with the BLM
Also,
movement.
you said in your classroom.
Correct.
So you're in high school?
I just graduated like yesterday.
You graduated yesterday. It would be around graduation time. That adds up.
But yeah,
Okay, so
and then
I have a question. What do you think the point of BLM was?
don't know, don't really care. Honestly, I just don't want politics in the classroom because
Well,
I
if
look
you
at
don't
it
know,
as
wait 1 second. If you don't know the point of BLM, then how do you know it's political?
because I just asked you if it was a good or bad political movement, and you specifically said a good political movement, which means that the average person would.
Sure. I think I'd rephrase my answer. I misspoke. I don't think it is a political movement. That was something wrong that
So
I
you
said.
don't think it was a political movement.
The more I think about it, it's not a political movement.
Okay, so then I have a question also about DEI.
Okay, well, before we move on to DEI, BLM is a political movement.
Because they were striving for political movements and wanted differences in the law.
Such as?
What do you mean, bro? They wanted at least strive for equality.
So you think that
even though they were
equality
already
is political?
equal, and use that as a.
Wait, you think that the community is disenfranchised? Is that legally?
Bro, do you know how many times
The
unlawfully
laws
killed somebody?
Do you think that the laws that could oppress a human?
What?
You think that law is the only oppress a human?
No.
No. Oh, so even if your claim is true that black individuals are equal to white individuals in the eyes of the tool to oppress others.
Okay, well, so
Right?
then would you
Like,
defend
there's-
Nazis under this rhetoric? Because, you know, they already did a study that Nazis get treated unfairly under the law by police officers. So if you're justifying the fact that even though they're equal under the eyes of the law because they're oppressed differently, then therefore they're able to have a movement. So you think that Nazis should also be campaigning for Nazi Lives Matter?
Okay, so first and foremost, I don't understand how me claiming that the law is not the only thing that can oppress an individual, preluding to the obvious take that black individuals in America today are also oppressed socially speaking.
So
I
are
don't understand
Nazis.
how that relates to Nazis.
They are also oppressed. Would you disagree with that?
I have a question. What is discrimination?
I don't like treating somebody unfairly on the basis of race, skin, religion,
Not necessarily.
gender.
Discrimination is justifiably holding prejudice and or targeted specifically to individual or group of individuals.
Everybody, okay.
So the difference between black people and Nazis is that hating black people comes with no reason, only prejudice, and hating Nazis comes with a lot of reason. They only genocided 12 million individuals. Does that make sense? So there's reason to hate Nazis.
Sorry, I
there's
didn't know
not
I was
reason to hate
muted.
black people.
What?
There's reason to hate Nazis. There's not reasons to hate black people.
No, I don't think there's reason to hate.
Wait, so do you hate Hitler?
No. I don't hate anybody.
Well, I mean, you hate BLM.
No, I don't. I just don't think it should be allowed in the classroom.
I think that it's objectively like fine to you don't hate anybody. You really? So tell me why I'm wrong. Okay, how about this? Tell me why I shouldn't hate Hitler. Take it away. Take the mic away. Convince me of your view. Convince me of your view, sir. Tell me why I shouldn't hate Hitler. Change my mind. Click on your profile picture and click the phone and convince me of your view. Tell me why I should not hate Hitler.
Well, I'm not gonna. Well, I'm. That's just rooted in my belief.
So seriously, convince me of the view. Give me an argument, even if it's rooted in your Christian beliefs. Tell me why I shouldn't hate Hitler.
Okay, well, this is completely steering off from what I was saying before. The whole point of this was just
I
saying
kind of want to
that-
focus on it. Tell me why Hitler.
No.
I'm serious. Give me an argument. Come on, don't back out now. I have a spine. Tell me why I shouldn't hate Hitler. Come on.
I don't need to convince you of something.
Okay. Here to debate because that's what a debate is
I
all
am.
about.
This is a red
So
herring.
then
bro. This has
debate.
nothing
So
to
then
do.
debate. Tell me why I shouldn't hate Hitler.
All right, bro. I mean, why do we have to focus on a point that had nothing to do? I was talking about BLM.
Because
you
Dean
moved on
says
to
so.
Hitler,
Because
and
Dean
now you're
says
making
so.
me defend
You're the
Hitler.
one that brought Nazis up. Also, are you 16?
No, bro.
Then why
I
is
just
my whole chat
graduated.
saying that you're 16?
I don't know.
Chat, why are you saying that he's 16?
Why is everybody saying that I'm 16?
Let's see if the chat has evidence. Maybe there's a link social where it says here. Let's just look at what the chat has to say, everybody. Let's see why the chat is saying he's 16. Okay, we're waiting. He's 16. I'm not seeing any reason yet. Because he graduated yesterday? You could be 18 and graduate high school.
My graduation was on Tuesday, but I still had to go to school
everybody-
Wednesday and Thursday.
So people are saying just based off the way he's talking,
I had AP exams.
he's not okay. I'm not really seeing any solid evidence that
Or what are you guys talking about?
I'm not seeing any solid evidence that he's 16. I'm not gonna lie. He said he can't vote. No, he said he couldn't vote in the election. Def 16. I mean, are you just saying that because like his points are so juvenile? If so, I agree, but adults have those too. Okay, I'm not really look at his reposts. Okay, do his reposts indicate that he's 16? His reposts indicate that he likes supercars, UFC. To be fair, these are really 16-year-old boy interests. Okay, post about day trading.
Wait, how does I'm so
16,
confused.
you know?
Why? What does anything I did have to be with me being 16?
I don't know. You kind of like embody the energy of like a 16-year-old white boy.
All right, that's fine with me.
Not gonna lie, but I don't see any hard evidence. Now people are saying that they know from his Snapchat. I don't see his Snapchat anywhere connected to his account. Does he even like have an Instagram connected? Okay.
What?
Yeah, people are just saying shit. Okay, chat. I'm not gonna lie. Y'all are saying shit. Y'all are just saying shit. Y'all are just saying shit at this point. Back to the debate because I think the chat's wrong.
All right. Okay. So let's say
back
let's
to
just
the
say you
debate.
beat me.
Convince
Let's
me,
just say you beat me
convince
on this
of the
first
view
thing.
that I shouldn't hate Hitler.
All right. Let's just say you beat me on the first thing because I just want to get to the second part because I'm not trying to be in here.
Before you get to the second part, I want to get to your bio. It says America First. Is that America First related to the Groyper movement?
What do you mean?
Well, America First is used as a slogan by neo-Nazis in America today, including the Groyper movement, Nick Fuentes, Yay, etc., to represent their Nazi beliefs. And the reason why I'm asking you this question is because you happen to bring up Nazis. Well,
Yeah,
what are your thoughts on Hitler?
He's a bad dude. That's it.
How many people died in the Holocaust?
In total, or just the Jewish people?
Everybody that was victim. Well, you know what? Answer either question. How many Jewish individuals died during the Holocaust? Yeah, sure.
6 million, I think.
Okay, all right. Okay, all right. I'm not getting Groyper vibes. Go ahead.
All right. So the DEI thing I was interested in. You're pro DEI, correct?
Yeah, sure. I think that DEI is great.
Okay. So would you be for blind hiring?
For blind hiring. I think that like blind hiring insofar as ignoring race, well, like my immediate perceptions would be that blind hiring can actually be an implementation of DEI. But it's possible that I'm just purely wrong because I haven't researched like hiring processes. I don't know. I'm agnostic. I'd probably have to look into it more.
All right. So do you think that, for example, in our government, right, you would say that our government is majority, really majority white men?
Yeah.
So do you think that needs to be fixed?
Do I think that needs to be fixed? Actually, yes. Yes, I actually do think that diversity is really important insofar as government representation, because at the end of the day, just like a rich man is never going to understand what it's like to be poor better than a poor man. Like a man is never going to be able, like an exemplification of diversity insofar as those drafting the policy that dictate the direction our country is heading in actually produces better empirical outcomes for the country because it's able to highlight like the interests of different demographics in America, as well as I'd like to say that my analogy there saying like a rich man wouldn't understand what it's like to be poor as a poor man would, and relating that to like how a man would understand what it's like to be a woman. I like to say that I wasn't comparing like poor individuals to women. I just kind of now noticing in retrospect that that's what it came off like. I'll definitely find a better analogy moving forward for everybody listening. I would like to apologize for that. That was a bad analogy. Boo, terrible analogy. But
All right, so for what reason would you be against blind hiring?
Okay. You didn't respond to my point. Plus, the chat finally found evidence. Last year in December, he posted a video about how he's a sophomore right now. Good job, good job, chat. You guys are investigators. Very, very, very good. Very good. Very good. You convinced me of the position. Found evidence. Very nice. Hello, Carson. How old are you?
17.
Okay. All right. What's going on? What the fuck is goodbye? Moving on to the next guest. Let's get the next guest, Hunter James, up in the box. It was not a bad analogy, to be fair. Well, like the implications of the analogy, it's actually, quite understandable. Because, like, I don't know, like wealth disparities is like a function and a mode of oppression categorized like along modes of different modes of, and like people and less willing to understand other. And so I think it's always best for me to use that as an analogy so they could maybe better understand. We're going to move on to the next guest, Carter, everybody. If you're one of the 6.7 thousand people, guys, make sure that we're double tapping away and get up to 2 million likes. On to the next guest. We are going to her up in the box. What's going on, Philip? How old are you?
Yo, I'm 19.
2005. 2005, and what time is it?
1:30.
Great. I don't know why I thought you had a British accent there for a little bit. What the hell? Okay, real quick. What month were you born in?
July.
June, July. Okay, yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Like the information you just gave us was like accurate, but like I don't know, just like the confidence in the delivery just wasn't there.
I mean, I really don't know what you're talking about, man. Anyways,
Oh,
just want to bring up my
class
thoughts
of
on.
2027. Get out of here. Dude's like a kid. Dude's a kid. Oh no, the fetuses are getting smarter. They're starting to outgame the rules. What's going on, Sam? Are you MAGA?
Sort of. I'm pro Second Amendment.
Okay, do you like think that the Trump administration is doing a good job?
Certain things, but they just
You think that Trump was a better pick than Kamala Harris?
I don't know that he's a better pick than anyone at the moment, but
Okay, if you're agnostic on that, I'm just going to say that you're not MAGA. I'm not going to lie. We're going to move on to the next guest, everyone. Let's go and get that next guest up in the box. Yo, everybody, just give us a minute. And if you're watching and you're enjoying what you see and you'd like to support me, support the stream, keep the streams running for 4 hours a day, every day of the week, on my PayPal, it can be found in my bio. And if you do donate, I'll get a notification. I'll be able to shout you out like Brandy with their $20 donation over on PayPal. Shout out Brandy. Brandy says, I've always been against Trump, but because of I've always been against Trump, but because of you now, I now know why Kamala Harris is so much better. I appreciate everything that you're doing. Thank you for the love. Let's go. As well as Cameron, thank you so much for the $15. Since you can't pull me up, can you talk about Unfuck America in Peyton's video, bro? Damn, bro, you paid that much money to come up and ask about that? I've addressed everything as it relates to the tour. If you'd like to see what my specific response is, feel free to go to my Discord. It's all highlighted in there, and it's all highlighting what I've already said on live. And then Patrick, thank you for the $30. Saying let's debate. My name is Charmander Man in the guest request. I'll look for you. Thank you for the $30, Patrick. That's very kind. And then Jerry Lee, thank you for the $25. Brandon, thank you for the 12. And Chris, thank you for the 10. You guys are awesome. What's up, Hunter?
23.
23. Okay. Do you support Trump?
Yeah.
Okay. Why is that? Why would you ever support such a train wreck?
Well, I definitely wouldn't categorize him as that. I support him because he's pro crypto and whatnot. And
Dude, get a load of this guy. Get a load of this joker. Oh my God. Was that satirical?
I trade crypto. I mean,
dude, have you ever seen that one movie? Like it's The Wild Witch, the Oz shit. What am I talking about here? Fill in my blank.
Wizard of Oz?
The Wizard of Oz, yeah. Do you know how, like, in that movie, like, they throw water on the Wicked Witch of the West and she, like, melts?
Yeah.
Well, the equivalent of that to me is somebody coming up here saying they voted for Trump because they're crypto, bro.
Well, I mean, obviously I have other reasons, but
Yeah,
yeah, definitely. As far as being an investor and whatnot, yeah, definitely. There was a reason why if somebody won, the stocks were going to go down and crypto was going to go down, and then, obviously an inverse effect.
So Kamala Harris would have been better for average and overall contribution to GDP, as well as to other macroeconomic indicators that generally indicate higher levels of confidence, like a lower deficit, better tax cuts, income, meaning that she would have been better for the stock market. And because there's so much bleed over between the stock market and crypto markets, she therefore would have been better for the performance in crypto markets. But hey, man, crypto markets aside, how do you feel about fascism?
Well, first of all, you do realize that as soon as Trump got elected, that the crypto markets skyrocketed to record numbers. You do realize that, right? Like, people had a lot of confidence in
Yeah. When, like, the day he won the election, market skyrocketed due to a false presumption of confidence. What happened to the market since then?
Well, it had a retracement and followed back around 40%. And then after that, it's almost about to all-time highs, which we are going to have a slight pullback, probably about 30%, at least on the S&P and broad market. And then it is going to reach way past as far as current projection and market indicators. So you guys were like, oh, yeah, we're going into a recession. You guys were gaslighting everybody. I find it so funny that you guys have no clue what you're talking about. And then you want to make everybody fearful and say, oh, yeah, he's running the stock market, even though 90% of the people that are invested in stocks, it pertains to the 1% of investors. So most of the people that watch your lives don't even know what a fucking stock is. They're not invested other than 401ks. You could say that. But
okay, buddy, quit your yapping. Want to know a fun fucking fact? You
What's
little
that?
gaslighting? You little.
No, don't.
The S&P right now is lower than it was on the inauguration day.
Uh-oh. That literally means nothing. That means nothing, dude.
Oh, it means nothing that in the first 120 days of his presidency, he hasn't even broken fucking even. Oh, and then about the claim that you're saying that liberals were gaslighting about a recession. That's actually not true at all, okay? Even JP Morgan officially projected a recession in this fiscal year because of his blanket tariffs. You want to know why I don't talk about that anymore? You want to know why JP Morgan dropped that official projection? Do you want to know why?
Go ahead.
Because he backed off of the blanket tariffs. He repealed the policy that was sending America barreling towards a recession. Obviously, if he removes the factor that was causing us to be sent into a recession, the recession's no longer going to happen.
You do realize that the reason why the market tanked wasn't just because of tariffs, right? Have you heard of Japan carry trading? Do you know what that is?
So there's a market tank under Biden because Japan increased their interest rates, which caused a lot of individuals to draw out of their currency. But that wasn't
it was worse
so
than
far
Trump,
as the 7% market tank on Liberation Day.
You realize in 2022 that Biden's economy tanked worse than Trump's did for a short period of time, and you guys weren't saying anything. What's that?
What did Biden do to tank the economy? Like how I can point out specifically how Trump signed blanket tariffs into effect, and which led to a 7% tank in one day. And it's also funny that you backed off of your whole spiel there about tell me what Biden did to tank the no before you do. Tell me what Biden did to tank the economy in 2022.
It was low market sentiment, so everybody was all fearful and wasn't sure what was going. Yeah.
So what did he do to reduce confidence?
It was just all the stuff that he was doing and whatnot. I mean, I just know as a trader.
Like what? Name one specific thing that he did, like one specific policy in which you think decreased confidence.
I mean, as far as like, I don't know if open borders ties into it, but as far as like businesses in the U.S., obviously there's certain ones that it wasn't a fair shake at, and a lot of businesses were they were affected negatively because of that, because of cheap labor, which I'm not going to dive into that right now. But anyways.
Okay, first and foremost, you think that businesses are negatively affected by hiring employees for lower wages?
Yeah.
Wow. I'll talk about why that's still a bad thing. Okay, I'm not just a brain rotted capitalist that thinks profit over human rights. Okay, I think that low wages are bad, but from a purely economic perspective, how the fuck do low wages hurt businesses?
Well, you think about it. Like in my industry, I'm in the roofing industry. I estimate for commercial roofing, and so there's a lot of companies that hire American workers, our own citizens. And there's many of them that are on the brink of going out of business because these other businesses can swoop in and get bids for pennies on the dollar because they have their employees work like literally 50%, if not 70% less than what the U.S. American worker would say. So if you say you're for the people of America, yet you're okay with jobs and companies going out of business because of illegal immigrants, I think it's very hypocritical, and I think it's very disingenuous of you.
Okay. I just want to make sure I understand your point. Maybe I'm just not tracking. Can you re-explain how low wages and undocumented immigrants hurt American businesses? One more time.
Because I guess I'll say it again. Because it takes certain businesses that employ American workers, not at crazy profit margins or whatnot. It's usually around, at least in my industry, it's about a 20%.
Okay. So far we have American businesses that employ American laborers. Okay. Next.
Yep. Okay. They will end up losing bids because of certain companies that employ illegal immigrants and are able.
What's a bid?
So if there is say there's a Kroger's and a roof needs to be replaced, there are approximately 5 companies, give or take, that will bid on a job, and you estimate the numbers with multiple factors.
I get what you're saying. So American companies employ American laborers. They pay them higher wages on average than undocumented immigrants. Then other American companies that employ undocumented immigrants pay them lower wages on average, meaning that they could give lower bids.
Exactly, so that they win the job, yes.
Okay, well, first and foremost, once again, this is just purely speaking from economics, okay? I just want to repeat this. Couldn't those American companies that only employ American laborers turn around and just hire the undocumented immigrants themselves for lower wages?
I mean, I think that's kind of against the American people. Why would you want to take American people out of their jobs and not employ American citizens?
But now you're giving me a non-economic argument. You're saying that it's morally wrong, okay? I've repeated this 10 times. We're leaving morals at the door, and we're talking about finance. So basically, you'd be saying that no, it's not the undocumented immigrants in which are hurting these American businesses. It is the bad financial decisions that are hurting these American businesses. Now let's get into the ethics of it, because that's what I really care about. No. Okay, why do undocumented immigrants get paid lower wages on average compared to American workers?
Because they're coming from a country that pays them low as it is.
Boom, false, not true, or else we would see that legal immigrants also get lower wages on average, which we don't. It has nothing to do with the country of origin. So what does it have to do with?
Clearly, they're out of desperation. I mean, that's what it seems. I mean, as far as the companies that I've talked to, that they're come over here and willing to work for anything just to be.
They don't have to work to be in our country, and they have the same incentive to get a job in America for a higher quality of life that legal immigrants do. So it doesn't have to do with that either, or else once again we'd see lower wages on average for legal immigrants. Here is why undocumented immigrants get paid less on average. It's because they have less bargaining power with their employer, as they don't have residency or citizenship, and they could be exploited by the employer under threat of being deported. Right? That happens a lot.
I could see that in certain.
And I'll even convince you. I'll even convince you of this. Do you agree that unions can help employees get paid higher wages?
Oh, for sure.
What is the function of a union? Is it to give those employees more bargaining power to hold against their employer?
Yeah, I mean, that's
so. In other words, the more bargaining power you have, the higher wages you garner. So because undocumented immigrants have less bargaining power, they'd get lower wages. How do we fix this? Mass amnesty, giving undocumented immigrants a pathway to residency or citizenship. All of a sudden, they have the same amount of bargaining power as citizens as they are citizens or residents, so they get the same wages. Boom. Guess what? See, this is a thing. This crypto bro, finance bro pipeline leads straight into the leftist communist position.
Yeah, they're literally just spewing shit out, dude. Goodness.
I could repeat, rehash, and justify everything I just said. I'm not just spewing shit out to say it. That was
so
a
you
false
do think that? So you do
false
think
characterization of what I said.
you do think it's okay that U.S. workers and citizens are going out of work because of illegal immigrants. You do feel that. I mean, clearly,
Once
that's
again,
how
it's
you
not
feel,
because of
right?
undocumented immigrants. It's because
No,
of
that
exploitative
is
employers.
that's clearly it, dude. I don't think you understand
No,
what
I
you're saying.
just clearly detailed without contestment from you how it's actually the employers and which exploits the fact that they have lower bargaining power on average.
So in your theory, every single company, at least in my industry, should just employ illegal immigrants, and then you win a bid. That's what you're saying.
No, in my
Screw
theory,
the
I
American
think that's
worker.
immoral because I don't place profit over human rights, and that's why I support mass
Well, that's
amnesty.
the problem, though. That's the problem that you're not
It's a
understanding. is that
problem
these-
to place human rights over money. Got it.
you're saying that it's okay for these employers or these company owners to just be able to take profit by just having illegal immigrants have as a workforce.
How many times do I need to repeat myself? I don't think it's okay because I think that it's exploitative. That's why I support mass amnesty.
This is your easy grad. This is how you kind of pedal away from that. I get
This
it.
isn't pedaling away from it at all. What am I pedaling away from? I'm just explaining what the obvious conclusion would be so we can continue to allow these individuals to work in the American labor force, pay $100 billion per year in taxes, contribute $300 billion per year to the American GDP, while also getting paid fair. Makes it just as fair to employ other American citizens. And also, without a single change in the material condition of these undocumented immigrants, they'll only be paying more in taxes and contributing more to the GDP as they'll be getting paid more on average because they'll have more bargaining power. This makes perfect sense. Tell me where I went wrong.
Yeah, I just as far as I get what you're saying as far as it is a bargaining power issue and whatnot and all that. But I'm just saying, like, right now, as far as like the way that the Biden administration has gone, it allowed all these immigrants into the country.
How do they allow the undocumented immigrants into America? I mean, hey,
They
this is
open
a
the
pivot
border,
away from the
dude.
point. How do they open the borders?
He literally stopped Texas patrol agents from doing it, and especially National Guard. Like,
Okay,
they
so
literally
you're saying
went
that they open
against
the borders by not allowing the state of Texas to ingress upon federal jurisdiction. So they open the borders by upholding the Constitution. Got it, buddy.
You think that opening the borders is going against the Constitution?
I said that they didn't give the state of Texas jurisdiction over federal lands.
Gotcha. Okay.
So
Well,
how do they open the border? Do they?
No, it wasn't
An
Biden did order the National Guard to stand down and allow the state of Texas and the governor of Texas, Biden. It was a huge thing, but obviously you guys
because
didn't
they were
talk about
ingressing
it.
upon federal land.
Dude.
They open the border. I'm waiting.
Well, they didn't continue wall construction and whatnot on the border more. And
Okay, well,
I
that's
mean,
not-
I don't even know why this is like.
Did you know the lie that you just told?
Biden was selling it $1.
Oh,
I literally
that's also
saw the
not
auction.
true. So that's
Oh,
the second lie you
is
just
that
told.
okay? All right. What article do you got to cite that then?
Yeah, for sure. So in response to your first, they didn't continue wall construction. How much wall was built by term? 50 miles on 3% of the American-Mexican border. Holy shit. Okay, that's nothing. Biden was in office. They bipartisan border bill and tried to put, which would pass law, and then which was built under Donald Trump's first administration. But then Donald Trump called the Republicans and told them to vote down the bill. So Donald Trump actually prevented the further construction of the wall under the Biden-Harris administration. So would your claim be that Donald Trump therefore opened the border because that was your original reason insofar as how they opened the border?
Well, I mean, it's not talked about a lot, but that bipartisan border bill also allowed a lot of funding to foreign aid, and then also allowed amnesty to 2 million people. So,
Okay.
I mean,
So
obviously,
I'm
I
gonna-
would have voted against that too. I mean, you guys try to gaslight people, and obviously, a lot of the people that watch this don't read bills and whatnot. But I mean, I'm completely in agreement with Trump on that. I'm not trying to allow just amnesty to 2 million people just freely. Yeah, come on in here. I don't care, whether you're a working person or even just, not a high value individual. I think it's very wrong for them to do that. And you guys don't mention that part. I think it's very funny that you guys don't mention that. And then also the foreign aid, which when inflation and so much under Biden's presidency, let's give foreign aid to other countries. That makes perfect sense. But you guys stay quiet about that. I understand it. I get it.
Do you know what you stay quiet about?
What is that?
The fact that they still passed the foreign aid, dummy. Yeah, that
Yeah,
Langford
no, I
border
don't
bill,
agree
guess
with
what?
that.
They torpedoed it, but they didn't torpedo all of it. They only torpedoed the border provisions and then still passed the foreign aid. So you're telling me that they stopped the border provisions because of the foreign aid, but then they still passed the foreign aid? Well, that's a completely incoherent gibberish statement. And then about your second claim, allowed for the amnesty of 2 million undocumented immigrants. Oh, please show me that. I've never heard this claim a day in my life. And if it's true, it only makes a bill better. I'm not going to lie. Mass amnesty is great, but I want you to show it to me nonetheless.
By the way, that is true. I don't know why you're
Show it
trying
to
to
me.
gaslight.
No, how am I trying to wait?
They have it up
Whoa.
now.
How am I trying to gaslight you by asking for you to show me it in the bill? That's not me gaslighting you. That's me asking for you. Just never heard the claim before. I've had these debates for 4 hours a day, and I've had these debates for 4 hours a day since a year and a half ago, specifically on Trump. Every single day, I've talked about the bipartisan border bill
I'm right.
millions of times. I'm actually actively proving you wrong. You made the claim that I'm gaslighting. No, I'm not. I'm asking for clarification because I've never heard this claim made before. If it's true, that'd be great. I just want to see it. Show me it.
How about you go look it up in the bill, dude? I don't need to cite it from a certain article that was made from somebody's personal opinion. You just
could cite me an article, or you could. Well, it is.
I don't know exactly. I read it when it happened, dude. I'm not gonna go cite it because I don't know how to get out of TikTok. Every time I do
it's not a good look to make a claim without evidence.
Oh, I know you're gonna try to make it seem like that, but I guarantee if you pulled up the bill and actually looked into it, you'd be like, oh man.
I mean,
wow,
you're trying to make it seem like that. Be honest.
Yeah, you
have
go
you
look it
given
up.
me evidence?
You know this. You already know this, dude. You're just trying to make me cite the evidence.
God, Hunter. Here's the issue with you. You're trying to make me Hunter. Here's the issue with you. You're trying to make me do your homework. No. You don't just get to say whatever incoherent gibberish shit you want to, and then expect me to do the research for you. Like, imagine that I was like, oh, Hunter, you got to stop supporting Trump right now because last night he raped a little girl. You can't support a child rapist. And then Hunter's like, oh, Dean, you're the first person I've ever heard that from. I've never heard that from anybody else. Dean, could you please give me some evidence that last night Donald Trump raped a little girl? Then I'm like, oh, you stupid, sick gaslighter. You already know he raped a little girl. Go look it up. I'm like, no. Your burden of proof. Give me evidence. We're not going to accept those measly little trust me bros here.
I understand your point, and don't call me a trust me bro. Okay, I understand your point as far as not providing certain evidence or whatnot, and I know that you know this is true. And
wait, Hunter, can you read minds?
Well, I just know how much you have gaslighted in previous times. You know, you guys have said certain things. You pushed the fine people hoax and whatnot, which has been proven to be wrong. And
wait, you're saying that I've gaslit about the fine people hoax? Okay. You show me a clip.
See, that's why I don't. First
off, wow! Can you give me an example of me gaslighting?
Yes, I have heard you say that before. It was a while ago. It was right around the peak time of it. I heard you say it. I was watching a live. I don't have
first. I don't think it was a hoax, but I mean, I've never talked about it whatsoever. But we're not gonna forget the fact that you owe us some supporting evidence there, little bud. I'm not gonna lie. Your big issue is your ego. All right. The reason why I say your ego's the issue is because you're trying to make it my fault that you don't have evidence. Okay. It's not my fault that you're ignorant. Okay. I'm not your mom. I'm not your dad. I'm not your guardian. I haven't been your educator. Okay. I haven't been the one dictating that you should just say shit with no reason. Your issue's your ego, bud. Okay.
Yeah, that's hilarious. Look at
it is not my fault that you don't have a source.
Is your chat muting me or something?
No, I am, because you're interrupting me.
Oh, okay. It's usually when somebody's proving you do that.
What point were you proving? You were just telling me that I was gaslighting you.
Okay, so right now, listen, I'm going to tell you right now, so you don't, because you're going to push this thing. Every single time I have left a TikTok to go find evidence, I got kicked from the live and I left it. Whether it was the person on it or whatnot, I'm not having that happen. So I urge you, go ahead, type it up on your little laptop or on ChatGPT.
Sure, look it up. Tell me what to Google. Tell me what to Google. I'll do it. Tell me what to Google.
Look up bipartisan border bill.
Bipartisan border bill.
Well, that's I don't know the actual name of it now.
What now?
2 million allowing immigrants amnesty.
Oh, okay. Well, see, you made a jump because I have to know where in the bill it says that.
I mean, I'm just kind of simplifying it. I mean,
well, I mean, the simplification allows no room for me to be able to identify where in the bill it calls for amnesty.
well, I don't have that memorized. I remember reading the bill back when it came out. I'm not doing your homework for you. You go look it up. I mean, you push.
Wait,
I hear you all the time.
It's my homework to justify your claim?
Well, no, I just think it's funny because you always push. Oh, they tried to pass a bipartisan border bill.
Hey, buddy, you want to see something crazy?
What's that?
Dude, you look like an idiot. Oh my god. Oh, this is terrible for you, Hunter. So right now on my laptop that you can see on the little phone, let's blow the little phone up. Let's make it big. Let's expand it. Oh, Hunter, don't run now, buddy. Don't run now. You better come back to the live. You better come back to the live, you little shit. Here's the bill. Border Act of 2024. Okay. Sponsor, Murphy. Got it. All right.
Murphy.
Yeah, he's the one that recreated the coalition to push the bipartisan border bill with just the border provisions after it was torpedoed.
Oh, recreated. Okay,
how many times is referenced in this bill?
Oh, it's they recreated it. Let's get that right. That's not the actual bill. That's
Yes,
just a simplified version.
No, this is the border provision.
You just said it was a recreation of the bill.
Yeah. So after Langford's bill got torpedoed, Murphy literally took the border provisions from it and reproposed it to Congress, and it got torpedoed again.
Okay. Well, reprovision, that usually means you revise it and add certain things to it. So, I mean, I would encourage you to try. I read it, dude. I read it when it came out.
Okay. So first and foremost, how do I shrink myself? I just looked at the bill. Doesn't reference amnesty.
That revision of the bill.
And then B, let's assume that you're right. The Republicans still torpedoed the border bill without its inclusion of amnesty. So why did they fucking torpedo it? But C, amnesty is not referenced once, and this was Langford's bill. What now? Shift the goalposts further, buddy. Cut more. Come on.
Well, you cut me off. I was going to say, well, I don't agree that the 4 and 8 or whatnot and torpedoing that, but I do know for a fact that there was.
What about the original Secure the Border Act of 2023? This was Langford's original bill. How many times do you think it was the word amnesty is referenced in this?
Probably not in Secure the Border Act.
Not at all. So can you please show me the bill where it's referenced? Like the least you could do is to give me its name, right? Oh, Hunter. Oh, Hunter.
Dude, every single time I leave this live, I'm leaving.
You've left it 3 times without getting kicked.
Well, I'm not on a fucking laptop. Every single time I swipe up,
you got nothing, bud. I'm sorry to tell you, but you got nothing. Also, Dario, thank you for the $30 donation over on PayPal. That is Dario. Thank you so much for the love, Dario. Can we please show some love to Dario down below in that chat literally right now? That is so incredibly kind. As well as Charlotte, thank you for the $2 on PayPal. And Luna, thank you so much for the $15 on Venmo. Shout out Luna. Luna says, did you listen to the Atheist Experience and Matt Dillahunty? I've listened to Matt before. Yeah, I used to be a big fan of Matt's. As well as Sid, thank you for the $25 on Venmo, saying, I don't know if you saw my message Monday, but my parents are friends with this insane pro-Israel MAGA chairman of Wisconsin. Dude, if you could set up a debate between me and him, that'd be awesome, Sid. As well, Brianne, thank you for the $5. Kate, thank you for the $10. And Ashley with a 5. And then Alyssa, thank you so much for the 20. You guys are awesome. You guys are awesome. Quite frankly, the best. That's right. That's the truth. Where's this guy at? Is he running?
Oh, I'm here.
Okay. All right. Well, we're going to go and add another Trump supporter up while he is floundering. Also, Parker may join shortly. What's up, Ethan? How old are you?
22.
Do you support Trump?
Yes.
All right, before you hop into that, Howard, thank you so much for the $50 over on YouTube Super Chat. 500 Howard W's. Howard says, President Reagan gave amnesty to over 2 million immigrants, but now amnesty is a bad word for Republicans today. Yeah. And they say like that Reagan was like their prodigal genius for economics. Make it make sense. Take it away.
Talk about, I saw that caption or comment. No. Okay, so Dean, I got a question for you.
Take it away. Shelby, thank
you. Where all have you been, like traveled wise, like outside of the States?
I've spent a decent America. I really like it down
South America,
Latin America.
Alaska.
No worries.
South. You know how it is.
America is what is
Hello?
under the United States of America and above South America.
Okay, so the
Mexico to Panama.
So not the islands. Mexico's still North America, and then you said Panama.
I know Latin America is not considered its own continent within like the American education system. However, it's still referenced as a like Latin or Central America.
Got you. So just like other countries outside of the U.S. you've been to, right?
Yeah.
And you've obviously, what kind of paperwork did you fill out to attend those countries? Visit?
None.
Well, that's not possible. You can't go to Mexico other than
like I guess like filling out the paperwork to get a passport.
Did you fly in there? Did you drive there?
Yeah, I flew.
Okay, so you obviously had to fill out some paperwork to be able to visit there legally.
Got a passport.
Okay, so what's so difficult about having a passport to come to the U.S. for illegal immigrants?
Well, you can't just come into America and live and go to work on a passport.
Okay, so you're obviously stating that you can't visit other countries just willingly. You have to have some sort of documentation to be able to come to there, right?
Yeah, like a visa, something like that.
Yeah, so but illegal immigrants don't have visas. They just come unwillingly,
That's kind of implied by the fact that they are undocumented. They don't have documentation. Yeah.
So do you support the Americans funding the illegal immigrants? You are a fan of tax dollars going towards illegal immigrants?
What tax dollars on the federal level are spent on undocumented immigrants?
Well, so I'm personally on a cell phone, so I won't be able to Google that, but I know you got the laptop right next to you, so I'm sure you can look it up.
I don't need to Google it. They don't have access to many benefits at all. In fact, the only federal benefit they have access to is what is expensed by Medicaid for access to emergency rooms for uninsured people. That's it. And that is like $17 billion annually for all uninsured individuals. Let's assume maybe like $1 billion is spent specifically on undocumented immigrants. Okay, so they cost our federal government $1 billion per year, but they pay $100 billion per year in taxes on the federal, state, and local level. Is that a good investment? Spend $1, get 100?
I mean, personally, if I dropped 100 or if I dropped $1 and got 100 back, that'd be kind of dope. But
right, so like all of a sudden, you are now like undocumented immigrants hurt the American economy and drain me of my tax dollars. But now, after like 2 sentences, they're like the best investment ever.
Well, I wouldn't go into that, but I mean, like currently, so I'm a resident of Georgia in the U.S., but I'm over here in Belgium, and we had to go through a whole lot of shit to get over here just for a fucking vacation, if you know how that is, if you've been over to Europe.
I haven't actually, no.
But
dude, I don't think you need much to go to Europe from America. Once again, just
I don't think there's too much other than that. You gotta.
So what's your point here, man?
I don't know. I kind of just joined it.
So why do you support Trump?
Big one.
Mine that Hunter left. Hunter, you got absolutely. Sorry, that was one. I need to cut down on those. It was very immature, very petty.
Big Orange Man, Big W. You know what I'm saying?
Can you articulate why you think he's a good president?
Yeah, just said it. Big Orange.
Okay, Hunter. Sorry, not Hunter. Ethan.
But I do have a
argument, or no?
Oh, Parker.
I feel like this guy's kind of wasting.
Kind of. But Parker, I saw part of your debate with Charlie Kirk. I didn't watch the whole thing. It was on TikTok.
Hey, Gabby, are you MAGA?
Yeah, I would say so.
Gabby, why would you support such a train wreck of a presidency?
So I kind of think it's a little bit bullshit for you guys to assume that he's like the worst thing for women.
I don't assume it. I have evidence. I have reason. Maybe the fact that he's been adjudicated to have raped the woman, and then once that jury made its determination, he called for her imprisonment. Shit, maybe he doesn't Maybe when he instructed the Supreme Court to overturn Roe v. Wade, which has now violated the human rights of 66 million American women and has caused 60 pregnant rape victims per day to be denied access to abortion, he doesn't care about women. Maybe when he boasted to Howard Stern about
No,
walking
I
into the
don't
changing rooms.
agree
One moment, let me
with
cook.
abortion at all.
Let me cook.
No.
Maybe when he boasted about walking into the changing rooms of half-naked teenage girls at Miss Teen USA, and he was acting as if it was this cool thing he was just doing as like a 45-year-old man. Maybe he doesn't care about women. Maybe when he sexualized a 10-year-old girl, doesn't care about women. When he hit on his own daughter, doesn't care about women. When he's cheated on 3 of his wives, one with a porn star, doesn't care about women.
But those are, I would say, not like his policies. He might not be a great human being. Like, I don't want to be friends with him or, date or marry him or whatever that is. Like, anything
Or like
relating
want them
to.
around your child, or to be, like a teacher, or let them legally immigrate into the country, or and be around anyone that you care about, right? But like his policy, like, could you name 2 of his policies that you like?
Immigration with, I think it's the H-1B visa, maybe the work visa that allowed anybody in STEM or with a U.S.
Surely.
No
So then you
one,
must.
no one disagrees.
So then
We don't disagree with that.
So then you must absolutely fucking hate the fact that he has now revoked the ability for any international student to go to Harvard to get an education, right?
I have heard a little bit about that. I personally have not done enough research to debate what's been going on with that. I do think that the education system for public and private universities, the definitely driven agenda, and you see it every day that you are in
What
school. And
liberal agenda? I'm confused. You mean facts?
No, so I went to a private university at one point, and then I changed majors to engineering. So I had to go to a different school because it's my original school. And went to the second university. It was a public university. And one of the things that I experienced was being in a male-dominated classroom setting, which was something new for me. No deal until it was magnified by the professors. And mind you, magnified by female professors who everybody in the program joked were DEI hires because they were almost